Hey friends, before we dive into tonight's story, did you know that nearly 80% of viewers aren't subscribed? If you're enjoying this content, hit that subscribe button. It really helps keep these long stories coming. Also, for even more police horror stories, check out my new channel. The link's in the description and pinned comment. I'd love it if you stop by and subscribe. I'd love to hear from you. What time is it where you are and which city are you listening from tonight? Now, sit back, relax, and let's get into it. I pull the mic close, hearing my own breath come in low, measured tones. The radio crackles once, then falls silent. I'm Sheriff Elena Vasquez, and tonight I'm running 10-6, going dark, on County Road C outside Sagebrush. The asphalt glints under a lone neon pump light at Miller's Diner. It hums. I let it hum. I've been here 20 years. I know what hums hide. I step out. The air is warm, heavy with the smell of dust and dying mesquite. I hear the screen door creak before the wind moves it. Nothing else stirs. No coyotes, no distant headlights. Just the diner's neon and the hush of farmland that never fully sleeps. 12:07 a.m., August 2016. Dispatch called at 10:33. Possible remains at the dried Pedra Auyo bed. I thought it might be cattle bones. Ranchers lose stock in flash floods. But the CB crackled with Sandoval's voice. Bones arranged in a circle, Sheriff. You need to see this. I drove out, tires crunching on gravel. I remember the taste of dust in my mouth. The cruiser's headlights picked out a circle of white in the cracked mud. I eased in close, flashlight in hand. I swept the beam across long bones laid like spokes, all pointing to a skull in the center. The skull faced up, empty eye sockets staring at nothing. No blood, no flesh, just bone, washed pale by sun and sand. I knelt. I almost touched it, but stopped. Procedure, evidence, respect. I tapped the mic. Sheriff on scene. Bones arranged deliberately. Send forensics. Code 5 perimeter. My voice sounded distant, like someone else's memory. Sandoval stayed back. He knew better than to crowd. We watched the wind stir the edges of the circle, lifting dust into a halo. The bones did not shift. They were heavy with intent. I walked the rim. The barn door down the road swung open and closed in the breeze. A broken child's bicycle lay in a ditch nearby, frame bent, no tire, no child. I paused. The world holds things better left unseen. I straightened and radioed. Area clear except for evidence. No footprints beyond the circle. Over. I stood in silence. The land waited. I could feel it watching. After a time, I climbed back in the cruiser. The seat was cool. I held the wheel, thumb resting on the radio button. Nothing more to say until dawn. 2 weeks later, same scene 8 miles downstream. Older bones, more weathered, but arranged the same. Skull center, long bones radiating out. Execution style, single gunshot to the back of the head. No hands. Whoever did this removed them later. My stomach clenched. A pattern emerges, a ritual repeated. We called in the state police, the FBI. We formed a task force. We ran reconstructions. Miguel Hernandez, first victim, missing since 2010. The second face remained nameless. I stuck his reconstruction on bulletin boards at every feed store, cafe and sheriff's office from Van Horn to Balmerhea. I watched people glance, then look away. In small towns, you learn not to stare at absence. Late one night, I sat in my kitchen, maps spread across the table, satellite images on my laptop, the hum of the refrigerator, my coffee gone cold. I circled every pool in the dried riverbed that formed a perfect ring when the Ioyo flooded. I counted 5. 2 found bodies, 3 empty leads. I marked them. I drove out to the nearest. The moon hung low. My headlights showed nothing but cracked mud and dark mesquite silhouettes. I felt a chill, not of air, of knowledge. The land itself held secrets. Someone saw those circles from above, timed the floods, and placed bones at coordinates no one on the ground would notice until years later. I thought of Covington, the grad student who vanished in 2013. His journal mentioned those pools, his aerial photos showing circles in the mud. He wrote about patterns hidden until rain came. I rubbed my temples. The pieces clicked unbearably into place. Next lead, a retired surveyor, Leonard Merrick, living alone near the Ayo. He mapped this region for decades. He had the equipment, drones, aerial cameras. He knew every ridge. I visited him under the pretense of a routine check. His compound was silent. Wind rattled shutters. He greeted me by name, no surprise. He knew why I came. His eyes were calm. Too calm. I noted the maps lining his walls. Topographic lines forming concentric rings where the river spread in flood. I asked casual questions. He answered softly, precisely. After, I left with nothing but a sense of watching and being watched. Weeks passed. No bodies at the third site. I began to dream of circles, white bone rings on black mud. I woke with my heart pounding. I checked my phone, missed calls from dispatch. I drove back to the Aoyo at first light. The fourth pool lay empty. The sun rose. I stood in the center where water would gather. I shut my eyes, heard neon buzz in my mind. A dog barked far off, then stopped. I drove home, hands gripping the wheel. I thought, someone completes the circle. Someone finishes the pattern. The land demands it. I flipped on the CB. 10-4, dispatch. I'm running another scan on those coordinates. We'll report. The voice crackled back. Be careful out there, Sheriff. I found the third body at Site 4. New enough for DNA. Daniel Covington. The skull faced up. Bones laid out in that cruel spoke pattern. No hands. I knelt. My heart went cold. I tapped the skull. Procedure. I taped the scene. I radioed it in. Then I closed my eyes and heard rain falling in dream. That night I couldn't sleep. I drove out one more time. The empty third lead. I parked, left the engine running. I stepped onto the cracked bed. Wind stirred the dust. I stood where bones should be. I lifted my head to the sky. The moon shone through shifting clouds. I thought of Merrick's maps. Patterns only visible from above. Patterns formed by water, land, and bone. I whispered into the radio, though no one asked. The land speaks in circles. Then I shut it off. I stood alone. The land waited. I went home. I opened my desk drawer. I pulled out an old photo, me at graduation. Bright-eyed, I turned it face down. The weight in my chest settled. I know someone will finish the last two circles. I know because someone already tried. And I know silence buries more than dirt ever could. I climb into the cruiser. I switch the radio off. I pull onto the road. I ease back onto County Road C. The neon at Miller's flickers out of sight behind me. My cruiser's tires hum against the asphalt. Radio silent. My hand rests on the wheel, thumb brushing the microphone. Ready, but unused. The night stretches ahead, empty as a promise. By 12:15 a.m., I'm past the farm fields. Mesquite and yucca fade into low scrub. The moon rides high, pale and distant. I think of that first circle, how the bones lay arranged like a compass pointing only inward. I think of how quiet the world was then, and how wrong that quiet felt. I flick on the overhead light just for a second to check the map clipped to my console. Coordinates for Site 3. North 31.2201. West 104.2503. I punch them into the GPS. The screen glows. Estimated arrival, 12:42 a.m. Plenty of time. Time enough to remember why I do this job, to find what hides in silence. I pull onto the sandy track leading toward the Aoyo. The road narrows until branches scrape the cruiser's sides. I slow, every sound amplified. Suspension, groan, gravel shift, wind sighing through the brush. I glance at the radio clock. 12:30. 6 minutes to go. Suddenly, headlights behind me. Another vehicle. Who's out here at this hour? I tap the brakes. The other driver does the same, then falls in behind. Too close. I flip on the cruiser's brake light 3 times. No turn signal. They follow. My pulse ticks up. Could be a rancher checking fences. Could be someone else. I keep driving. The track ends at a dry wash, smooth, cracked earth. I stop. The other vehicle stops 50 yards back. I kill the engine. The headlights go dark. I'm alone in black. I step out. Heat from the engine drifts off the hood. I hear nothing but my breathing. I walk to the tailgate, tap my flashlight, 1 click. Beam cuts a path across the wash. No footprints, no second vehicle. The cruiser's headlights must have blinded me. I walk the circle site, where water pools into a ring when the Aoyo floods. Now, nothing but cracked mud. I kneel, run fingers through a fissure. I taste dust on my lips. I stand. Behind me, the cruiser's interior light flickers on. I turn, no one inside. My radio crackles. "Sheriff, you copy? We lost your signal. Dispatch." I tap the mic. "Going dark." No sign of second unit, all quiet. My voice sounds too loud. I climb back in, lock the doors. I scan the perimeter, nothing but moonlit scrub. I pull back onto the track and head downstream, just past Site 2, to where the second circle waited. I stop there. I remember Sandoval's flashlight beam circling bone spokes. I remember the chill in my spine. I step onto the mud. I leave fresh footprints. I follow them in a circle, come back to the center. I close my eyes. I listen for rain that isn't coming. I whisper, "Show me what you hide." I open my eyes. The wash is empty. The night patient. I tap the mic. I'm clear. Heading home. The radio is silent. I drive back toward town. Dawn will come. I'll file my report. But I know the land doesn't sleep with the sun. It waits for darkness, for the next circle, the next quiet revelation. When I reach the pavement, I kill the cruiser's lights. I drive blind for a moment, guided by memory of road. The diner neon appears ahead, still humming. I pass without stopping. My shift ends at 6 a.m. I'll log off at 5:59, but I won't rest. I never rest until the circle's complete. The last 2 sites still wait. I think of Merrick's maps, rings within rings. I think of the jars in his shed, hands preserved, posed. I think of bones in mud, waiting for water to shape them into messages. I pull into the station lot. The building is dark. I leave the engine running. I step out, cross to the door. My boots echo on concrete. Inside, the front desk is empty. I set my flashlight and radio down. I swipe my badge. Door clicks shut behind me. In the locker room, I peel off my uniform, dusty, stiff. I hang it neatly. I don't bother with the photo in my locker. I close the door. I walk to my office. Case files line the wall. Victim photos, maps, notes. I switch on a single lamp. The rest stays dark. I sit, open the file on Site 5 and 6. Blank pages, empty leads. I light a cigarette. The ember glows. I lean back, exhale smoke. I watch the circle of light on the ceiling. I think, 2 circles left, 2 chances to find remains, or someone finding me here alone, drawn by the same patterns. I stub out the cigarette. I pick up the phone, dial the lab. I need updated satellite passes, high resolution. Focus on those 2 coordinates. I listen. Yes, I want infrared too. I hang up. I close my eyes. The lamp flickers. I hear the diner neon in my mind. I hear the wind creaking the barn door. I hear nothing else. I stand, walk to the window. I look out at the station parking lot. Empty, but for my cruiser. Beyond, the land rolls dark and empty. I whisper, "I know you're out there." I turn away. I walk back to my desk. I open a blank sheet. I write, Site 5, coordinates. Site 6, coordinates. Underneath, check after rain. I pause. I feel the weight of unsaid things. I feel the quiet pulling at me. I close the file. I leave the office, head home. The station behind me goes dark. The night continues. At home, I don't sleep. I stare at the ceiling. I think of circles. I think of bones. I think of what's missing. My hand hovers over my phone, thumb on the gallery. I could look at that photo of me, bright-eyed at graduation. Instead, I swipe left, nothing but darkness. I set the phone down. I close my eyes. I hear rain. I pull into my carport just before 2 a.m. The engine's rumble fades as I cut the ignition. I sit for a moment, hands on the wheel, listening to the house settle. The night outside my window is a living thing, breathing, patient. I close my eyes and replay the drive back to the station, the empty wash, the hum of neon behind me. The questions spin. Who, if anyone, followed me? What waits at sites 5 and 6? I step into the house. The hallway light is dim. I flick it on. The living room is silent. The couch, the coffee table, the stack of case files I brought home, all frozen in domestic stillness. I take off my boots by the door. The tile is cool beneath my feet. In the kitchen, I set down my flashlight and radio. I pour coffee, black, no sugar, and heat it in the microwave. The machine hums, then chimes. I lift the mug, inhale bitterness. I sip. Wakefulness spreads through me. I carry the coffee to the desk in the corner. My laptop glows on the surface. Next to it, the printed satellite image of Site 5. A pale ring, half buried in mud cracks. I tap the image with a fingertip. I zoom in on the screen, elevation lines, vegetation patterns, the subtle curve of the riverbed. I cross-reference with Merrick's hand-drawn maps. The pool lies where two small tributaries converge after rain. Water slows there, pools into that perfect ring. I open a blank document. Title line, Operation Ioyo Sweep, Site 5. Underneath, coordinates, elevation, last flood date, vegetation cover, access route. I note, acreage, 0.2 square miles, vantage points, none within 50 yards, nearest road, 0.3 miles. Then, risks, isolation, possible unstable ground when wet, no cell signal. I pause, add, bring satellite phone. I close the file. I check my watch, 2:12 a.m., too early for sleep. I decide I'll head back out. Drive the route again in daylight. Familiarity can catch what the night conceals. I grab my keys, flashlight clipped to belt, and step back into the dark. The porch light flickers on. I lock the door behind me. My cruiser waits. I start it, let it warm up. The dashboard clock reads 2:15. I punch in Site 5 again. Estimated arrival, 2:40 a.m. The track is no different at night or day, just light level. But the land feels different under moonlight. I drive. The track narrows, and the brush scratches the windows. I turn off the headlights and coast, guided by memory of the path. At the wash, I kill the engine. The moonlight is enough. I step out. The mud cracks are visible, white lines on gray. I walk to the pool's edge. It's empty now, hard clay. But I can see the depression. I trace its rim with my foot. Something glints. I crouch, sweep away dust with my fingertips. A small metal ring, an earring backing maybe. I pick it up, no bone. I slip it into an evidence bag. I scan the perimeter. Still, patient. No footprints but mine. I stand, hear the wind stir the mesquite, a soft scraping behind me. I turn, nothing. My flashlight beam cuts through darkness. I step back to the wash center. I whisper, "I'm still here." The land doesn't answer. I drive on to Site 6. The track forks. I take the left. The ground slopes gently. I kill the engine again and walk. The depression here is shallower. I crouch, feel for fragments. My glove brushes against something smooth. I pull out a fragment of ceramic, part of a coffee mug handle, white glaze. Not human. I bag it anyway. A breeze picks up dust. I stand. My flashlight flickers. I tighten its battery clamp. I turn it back on. The ring of light shows nothing new. I return to the cruiser. I check the time. 3:05 a.m. 2 empty circles, 2 finds of debris. I radio dispatch. Sweep complete. Minor debris collected. No remains. Returning. Silence. Then, "Copy, Sheriff." I drive back toward home. The horizon lightens slightly. Pre-dawn glow. The sky bruises purple. I think of the first 2 circles. Bones placed with intent. I think of Covington's fresh remains at Site 4. And of the missing 2. At home, I pull into the garage. I lean against the wheel for a moment, eyes closed. My heart still racing from the isolation. I open the garage door. The car idles. I step back inside. In the bathroom mirror, I see lines under my eyes. I splash cold water on my face. The reflection blurs. I press my palms to the sink. I think, if Merrick's pattern holds, the next rains will reveal bones at one of these sites. But what if someone beat him there? What if someone else knows the pattern? I towel off. I return to the desk. The document on Site 5 and 6 waits. I open a new tab, Flight Tracker, drone flights near Sagebrush. None recorded for the last month. I search FAA registrations. No private drones logged in this region. Merrick's modified drone would not appear. I note, consider ground disturbance sensor. I lean back. I glance at the clock, 3:45 a.m. Sleep is hours away. I decide to review Merrick's interview transcript. I open the PDF, his calm voice, his precise explanations. I scroll to, "I only completed what was already there." I highlight that line. I type in the margin, belief or instruction. I close the file. I open the case file on Covington. His last journal entry. These circles feel alive. I can't shake the sense they're watching me. I pause. I sit in the dark, the laptop glow painting my face. I whisper, "So are you." I save and shut down. I stand. I stretch. My back pops. I head to the couch. I grab a blanket. I flop down, pull it over me. I stare at the ceiling. The pre-dawn hush is heavy. I hear the HVAC kick on. I hear the house settle. My thoughts drift to the unspoken. The missing hands, found in jars, pose questions no one asks. The victims chosen because they saw the circles. The land demanding sacrifice. I feel a hollow ache. I close my eyes. I think, I'll check Site 5 again after the next storm. I'll bring a team. I'll light the wash with floodlights. I'll find the bones. I won't let the silence win. Sleep takes me in fits. Dreams of circles, of spinning bones, of rain filling the depressions until water laps at a skull's jaw. I wake once, heart pounding, to the sound of distant thunder. I lie still. I pull away from the house under a slate-gray sky pregnant with storm. Thunder rumbles low, a warning drum across Sagebrush County. The cruiser's engine idles beneath me, warm against the coming chill. I hold the wheel, thumb resting on the radio mic. I could call it in, "Sheriff heading to Sites 5 and 6 for another sweep." But I stay silent. The land listens better when you're quiet. By 4:12 a.m., I'm back on County Road C. The horizon glows faint purple. Streetlights of Sagebrush Town vanish behind me. I pass the old Miller's Diner, dark now, its neon sign sputtering off like a dying eye. The wind picks up, rattling the screen door of the vacant barn nearby. I slow, watch the door swing open and closed, a lullaby of neglect. GPS ticks down the miles to the fork leading into Site 5. I turn onto the sandy track. Tires hiss. The brush presses in. I kill the headlights and coast, guided by moonlight and memory. The depression of Site 5 emerges as a shallow bowl in the cracked clay. I kill the engine. The night is absolute. I step out, boots sinking slightly in mud cracks. I sweep the flashlight beam across the rim. No bones. No signs of disturbance except my footprints from before. The depression waits. I kneel and run gloved fingers through the fissures. A shard of bone. Small, white, irregular. I bag it. It could be animal. I note it anyway. I stand, and the wind carries a distant sound. A dog barking twice, then silence. My breath catches. The hush returns, thicker now. I tap the mic. Site 5, sweep complete. Minor fragment recovered. Moving to Site 6. No response. The storm may be jamming the frequency. I head back to the cruiser. Rain spatters the windshield. First drops tentative. I flick on the wipers. The world blurs into streaks of silver and black. I punch the drive into Site 6. The track forks. I take the left path this time. Water pools in ruts, reflecting the moon in rippled circles. At Site 6, I kill the engine again. The wash here slants gently toward a stand of mesquite. The depression is subtle, easier to miss in daylight. Now, rain glosses the clay, darkening the rim. I crouch, shine the light inside the ring. Something pale catches my eye, a fragment of ceramic like before. I bag it. No bone, no blood, just shards and silence. The rain intensifies, steady, cold. I zip my jacket. The wind whips dust and leaves across the wash. I stand in the center of the empty circle. Water begins to pool at my feet, tracing the shape of the ring. In minutes, the hollow will fill completely, mirror flat, perfect as a lens. I record into the mic without pressing talk. Site 6, depression filling. No remains, fragments only. Rain continuing, returning to station. I close the channel. I watch the water gather. I think of Merrick's drone photos. How he captured those circular pools from above. How he timed placements so bones would emerge last. I step out of the pool. Water seeps through my boots. I trace the rim once more, then head back to the cruiser. The engine roars to life, heating the wet glass. I drive out through swirling rain, headlights cutting towers of water in half. The road back feels longer. The storm presses in, heavy and relentless. By 5 a.m., I'm back at the station. Rain hammers the roof. I park, sit for a moment. The cruiser's interior glows with dripping reflections. I kill the engine. The silence inside is a shock. I step out into the downpour, coat pulled tight. The station's door is slick. I slip inside. In the evidence room, I log the fragments. Each bag labeled Site 5 or Site 6, time-stamped. I place them on the counter. The technician eyes me warily. Just shards? I nod. Rain spoils the rest. He shrugs. He knows better than to expect bones in fresh storm water. I leave the shards under light, close the door. I head to my office. The corridor's fluorescent glow hums overhead. I reach my desk, open the drawer. I retrieve the map with all 6 sites marked. 2 remain empty of bone. I draw a circle around them in red ink. Underneath, Site 7 and 8, next sweep after flood. I glance at the clock. 5:22 a.m. Shift ends in 38 minutes. I could go home, sleep, let the storm wash the wash clean. But I don't. I sit at the desk, open my laptop. I pull up the infrared satellite pass I requested. The image loads, pale gray land, dark lines where water runs, 2 faint circular depressions at sites 7 and 8. Both look deeper, more pronounced than 5 and 6. Both likely to hold water, and maybe something else, once the rain eases. I mark coordinates in a new file. High-res drone flight needed. I note, permission, BLM, fallback, authorize law enforcement drone under exigent circumstances. I lean back. The thunder rolls again. My office window rattles. I think of Merrick's confession, how he believed the land commanded sacrifice. I think of Covington's journal, how he feared the patterns. I think of my own log, how I chase circles in mud, fragments of bone, silhouettes of absence. I close the laptop. I gather my things. I step into the locker room, change into plain clothes. I leave the uniform hanging, wet from the wash, heavy with clay dust. I pinch the photo in my pocket, face down, bright eyes hidden. I carry it out. At the front door, I pause. Rain soaks my hair. I lift my face to the sky. Water streams down. I feel colder than the rain. I whisper, "I'll find you." I drive home slowly. The storm begins to ease, shifting to a steady drizzle. Dawn's light seeps through clouds. By the time I reach my driveway, the world is gray and empty, washed clean. The depressions at sites 7 and 8 will hold new pools, new lenses. I step inside, close the door against the rain. I leave my keys on the hall table. I make coffee again, weak, half cup. I sit at my kitchen table, maps and satellite images spread before me. I sketch a plan. Drone flight at dawn, ground team to follow. Full sweep of all sites once water recedes. I write, objective, uncover remains before next flood cycle. I look out the window at the yard, water beating on the grass. The land is quiet. I think of what's hidden beneath. I think of bones waiting to surface. I think of silence waiting to break. I finish coffee, I stand. I head back to the desk. I open a blank report, I begin typing. After action, storm sweep. May 10th, 2016. Sites 5 and 6, no human remains. Recovered non-diagnostic fragments. Recommended drone overflight and ground sweep at sites 7 and 8. I stop. I lean back. The words feel inadequate. The storm outside feels powerful enough to erase footprints, wash away evidence, rewrite patterns. The land will remember. I will remember. I save the draft. I close the file. I step away. I glance once more at the maps pinned on the wall. 6 circles, 2 blank. I think the next one will show me something. The next one might break the pattern or prove it. I head upstairs. I pass the bathroom mirror. I catch my reflection. Tired eyes, stained coat, unshakable resolve. I nod to myself. I open the bedroom door. The bed is unmade. I collapse onto it, uniform soaking into the sheets. I pull the blanket over me. I lie awake, listening to the drip of rain on the roof. My mind traces circles in the dark. I think of the skull in the mud, the missing hands in jars, the drone's silent lens. I think of silence, and I know. Some stories end in stormwater, some end in shards, some end in silence that no one can break. I close my eyes, I drift, halfway between sleep and wake. I feel the land breathing around me, waiting for the next circle to emerge. I wake to darkness. The clock reads 1:17 p.m. A mistake. I've slept through morning, afternoon, half the day. I sit up, disoriented. Sunlight filters through blinds. The maps on my desk look alien. I shake off sleep. I check my phone. Missed calls, texts from dispatch. Where are you? I tap out, at office. I grab yesterday's coffee, cold, and down it. I drive to the station. The roads glisten from overnight rain. Puddles mirror gray sky. I think of sites 7 and 8 filling with water. I think of circles forming. I think of what might surface. At the station, I drop off my uniform for cleaning. I fetch my laptop. I head to the briefing room. 5 deputies wait, faces drawn. I clear my throat. We're doing drone overflight today at sites 7 and 8 this afternoon around 3 p.m. Ground team moves in once water recedes, safety first. Anyone see anything odd at home? Blank stares. Good, let's move. By 2:30 p.m., I'm back at my cruiser with the drone operator, Tex Simmons. He's setting up a DJI with extended range transmitter. I hand him the infrared map printouts. Fly altitudes at 300 feet, grid pattern over depressions. Capture visible and IR. I want time-stamped geotags. He nods, plugs in tablet. We drive to Site 7 first. The track is muddy from rain. We park 50 yards out. Simmons unfolds the drone. I hold the controller. The sky is low, clouds scudding. He launches. The rotors whine. The craft ascends, slipping into the gray. On the tablet, I see the wash from above. 2 dark circles where water still pools. We run the grid. The drone sweeps back and forth. I watch the live feed. Pools reflect clouds. Then I see something. A pale shape at the edge of the northern pool. I freeze. Simmons asks, "See that?" I point. He zooms. A bone, long, curved, half-submerged. We hover. I tap record. "Get more passes," I say. He switches to infrared. The bone glows cold against warmer mud. I snap photos. I feel my chest tighten. This is it. Site 7. I radio dispatch. Sheriff on scene. Drone confirms bone at Site 7. Coordinates, I read latitude/longitude. Request forensic team ASAP. Copy, comes back. ETA 30 minutes. We land the drone. I bag the controller. I kneel at the mud rim, boots sinking. I sweep away debris. The bone emerges, a femur fragment. I bag it. I run my glove along the depression rim. Water laps at my ankles. I stand. The pool is nearly full. Soon it will be mirror flat. I drive to Site 8. Simmons dismantles gear. I map the second depression. It's smaller, oval. I kill the engine, leave lights on. I step out. The rain has stopped. Clouds drift. I crouch in the wash. Mud cracks fan out. I brush aside silt, a shard of ceramic again. Then something darker, a piece of cloth. I pull at it. Mud-caked fabric clings to wood, part of a box. I bag it separately, no bone yet. I stand in the oval, water seeps. I whisper, "Come back." I tap the radio. Sweep complete at Site 8, debris only. No bone visible. I pause. Recommend return after full drain. Understood, dispatch replies. I drive back to station. The cruiser's heater hums. I think Site 7 yields bone. Site 8 holds fragments. 1 circle solved, 1 pending. At the station I log evidence. Femur fragment goes into the freezer. Fabric and ceramic into separate bags. I update the case file. Site 7 positive, Site 8 inconclusive. Next step. Ground excavation at Site 8 once water drains. Request backhoe. I send the request. I sit in my office. The sky outside lightens. A shaft of sun breaks through clouds. I close my eyes. I hear the hum of the station. I feel the weight of the circle. 1 left. I open Covington's journal on my desk. His last entry, "If they find 1 circle, they'll find more. The land remembers." I close it. I swipe the photo in my pocket, graduation, flip it face down. I check my watch, 4:45 p.m. Daylight wanes. I head out to the lab. Forensics will prep the bone. I think if the femur matches Merrick's victims, it confirms his span. If not, someone else. I step into the lab. The tech nods. Bone came back human. Adult male. Send for DNAi. Nod. Thanks. I leave. In the hallway, I pause by the evidence room. I think of hands in jars. I imagine the missing hands, still out there or hidden. I shudder. I drive home. The porch light flickers. I step inside. The house is quiet. I make dinner, soup. I eat at the kitchen table. I look at maps. I think of Site 8 when it dries. I wash dishes. I rinse soap off my hands. I look at my reflection in the window. Haunted eyes. I turn away. I go to bed early. I set alarm for 2 a.m. again. The last circle waits. I close my eyes. I dream of femurs in water, of cloth swirling in mud. I wake at midnight. The storm returns. Distant thunder. I dress, grab coat, leave house. The night calls. I drive to Site 8. The wash is glowing under lightning. The depression is shallow pool of water. I kill engine. I step out into thunder. The rain begins, warm, insistent. Water fills the oval. I stand in the center. Water swirls around me. I whisper, "Show me the rest." I feel mud shift underfoot. I kneel, push water aside. My hand closes on something solid. I pull up a child's shoe, mud-caked, small. I stare at it. No child has been reported missing here. My heart pounds. I bag the shoe. I radio dispatch. Site 8, we have a shoe. Investigate possible missing person. Silence. Then, copy, Sheriff. I stand in the rain. Water soaks through. I feel the circle complete itself. Pool, debris, memory surfaced. But the skull, where is it? The center is empty. I step out. Lightning flashes. I see the wash rim. No bone. Just mud and water and a lone shoe. I drive off. The thunder follows. The circle waits for more. I reach home at 1:30 a.m. I drop the shoe on my desk. I stare at it. I think someone walked here. Someone young. Someone lost. I log the find. I update Site 8. Shoe recovered. Initiate missing persons inquiry. I lean back. The night hums. I close the file. I look at the map. 8 circles, 8 sites, 6 found bones, 1 found a shoe, 1 still empty. The final circle holds its secret. I stand. I go to the window. I watch storm clouds. I whisper, "I'm coming." I slip into the cruiser just past midnight. Rain still drumming on the roof. The shoe from Site 8 sits on the passenger seat in its evidence bag. A silent passenger. I close the door, tap the mic. Sheriff back in service. The radio crackles. "Go ahead," I reply. "Heading to Site 8 for ground excavation. Bring backhoe." I kill the engine and sit in the dark. The storm wind rattles the windows. I feel its insistence, like the land demanding answers. By 12:20 a.m., I'm on the muddy track towards Site 8. The clouds have thinned enough for a sliver of moon. My headlights carve a path through puddles. I stop at the wash. The pooled water reflects the sky. I open the door, step into mud. The shoe lies at the rim of the depression, half submerged. I crouch, run a gloved finger along its sole. Child size 8, American sizing. Too small. I store it again, then step into the pool. Water swirls around my boots. I pull out a small hand shovel and begin scraping mud at the pool's center. The water sloshes. I tilt the blade, clay shift. I scoop again. The mud is soft beneath. I feel something solid. My heart hammers. I tilt the shovel, a fragment of bone, dark with water. I brush away silt, thin, small, curved, a rib fragment. I bag it, then another scoop, larger shape. I clear away clay, a skull, smaller than an adult's, resting face down in the mud. I freeze, my breath hitches, a child's skull. I kneel and cradle it gently, then lift, no resistance, bone slick with mud. I flip it, empty eye socket staring at me. The rivers ring around it like a halo. I radio dispatch in a clipped voice. Site 8, human remains, juvenile. Skull and rib fragments recovered. Need forensic team and medical examiner here immediately. Silence. Finally. Understood. ETA 20 minutes. I scoop more mud, uncover long bones, femur, tibia, small, child-sized. I bag each. The storm wind picks up. I stand in the center of the circle, water lapping at my knees. The shoe, the bones. Evidence of a child lost in silence. I close my eyes and hear nothing but my own pulse. I step back, leave the pool to reclaim its quiet. I drive out through dark mesquite, headlights reflecting puddles. The cruiser's heater hums. I think of the child, their last footprints in mud now washed. No one reported a missing child here. A ranching county doesn't notice a stray kid until years later. I feel hollow. I sit in my office, maps before me. 8 circles, 7 adult, 1 juvenile. The odd one out signals a new hand at work, or a copycat. My chest tightens. I pull up Merrick's interview transcript. He denied any child victims. I highlight, I only completed what was already there. I add note, pattern diverging. I lean back. The office lamp flickers. I glance at the photo in my pocket. I pull it out. Me at 23, bright eyes. I flip it face down again. No light there now. I decide to visit Merrick in jail. If he's still alive, he's 80 now, I need to ask, did anyone ever help him? Did he train someone? Did someone learn the pattern from him or his maps? I call the jail. Request inmate visit Leonard Merrick, case follow-up. They schedule me for tomorrow at 2 p.m. I leave the station at 2:30 a.m. The sky lightens toward gray. I drive home. The world feels off balance. Child's bones in a ritual pattern meant for adults. I park, step inside, and the house is quiet. I make tea. I sit at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around the mug. Steam fogs my glasses. I think of the skull in my palm. I head to bed at 3:15 a.m. Sleep is elusive. I lie on my back, ceiling fan turning. I see circles behind my eyelids. I hear neon hum, barn door creak. At 6 a.m., I wake. The sky is pale. I dress, skip breakfast. I drive to the jail. The guard escorts me down corridors. I enter Merrick's cell block. He sits on a cot, reading a tattered topographic map of the Ioyo. He looks up, eyes sharp. "Sheriff," he says. No surprise. I heard about the child. My spine tightens. "You know about it?" He folds the map. "I mapped those pools. I watched patterns, but I never touched children. That was someone else." I study him. His face is lined, but his gaze is steady. "Someone followed your work." He nods slowly. "Knowledge spreads. The land speaks to anyone who listens." I lean in. "Where did you share your maps?" He smiles faintly. "With colleagues, a few surveyors, a prospector friend, names forgotten." He taps the map. The pattern is in the land. Anyone with aerial view can see it. I pull out a notepad. "Names." He shakes his head. "I was careful. They didn't interest me. They didn't listen like I did." I close the pad. "What about the child? You ever see a juvenile circle?" He frowns. "Never. That is new. Someone applying my method for something else. Something darker." I nod. "Thank you." I turn to leave. He calls softly, "Be careful, Sheriff." The pattern has new authors now. I walk out, heart pounding. In the hallway, I exhale. A child's skull in the mud. A copycat, the land's pattern corrupted. Back at the station, I convene the task force at 9 a.m. Faces drawn. I outline the child's remains. I play surveillance of the wash. I say, "We're not only looking for Merrick's victims, we're looking for someone new. Someone who learned the circles and used them for their own purpose. That suspect could be local. Could be anyone with access to Merrick's maps or journals. Deputy Sandoval raises his hand. We found Merrick's old prospector friend, Thomas Rhee, years ago. But he died in 2018, I nod. Check his associates, his family, his heirs, who inherited his notes. I assign teams. We will trace every copy of Covington's journal, every aerial photo. That afternoon I return to Site 8 with the excavation crew. The backhoe groans as it lifts mud. Bones emerge, arm and leg fragments. We recover a full juvenile skeleton. Each bone carefully bagged. The water drains, the circle is complete. I stand in the empty wash, sun low. The circle etched in mud, now empty ring. I feel hollow. The child's remains will haunt me. The pattern has changed. I drive home at dusk. I sit at my desk drafting a press release. Juvenile remains discovered in Aoyo Circle. Investigation expanded to potential copycat. I write, community members with any knowledge of Merrick's materials urged to come forward. I stop. I think. Fear will bring whispers. Someone knows. I save and close. I step outside. The sky darkens. A lone mesa silhouette stands against purple. I whisper, "Who are you?" No answer. Only wind. I leave the station at 11:30 p.m., the sky a bruised dark canvas. The juvenile bones from Site 8 sit in labeled bags in the cruiser's back seat, small white fragments that feel too fragile for this world. I tap the radio. 10-8, running another perimeter check on Sites 1 through 4 for any overlooked clues. I'll circle back before dawn. Static crackles. Be safe, Sandoval replies. I drive out County Road C, headlights cutting ribbons through mesquite shadows. The air is sharp after the storm, a promise of frost. I pass Miller's Diner. Its neon is dead now, sign dark as a closed eye. I think of the first circle there, bones laid like a compass. I think of the child's skull at Site 8. I think of the emptiness at Site 7 before the femur emerged. 2 circles left, Sites 1 and 2, the oldest discoveries. The ones Merrick confessed to. I reach Site 2 first, the barn circle 8 miles downstream. Wind rattles the barn door. I kill the engine, step onto cracked mud. The circle is empty now. Years of sun have bleached bone clean or carried it off. But I kneel, brush away silt. A single shard remains. A fragment of metal, rusted, shape like a surveyor's tag. I bag it, evidence of Merrick's tools. I stand, dust my gloves, and move on. Site 1, the dried Miller's Diner lot, first discovery. I park under the neon's flicker. I step out. The mud circle's rim is faint in the gravelly soil. I crouch, sift small stones. My fingers close on something cold. A surveyor's metal stake, stamped LM 1978. Leonard Merrick's initials. I hold it up, proof he was here first. I bag it. I stand in the center. No bones, just gravel, dust, and the hum of a dying neon. I tap the mic. Sites 1 to 2 swept. Minor artifacts recovered. Merrick's survey tags. No organic remains. Copy that, comes back. I drive on, road glittering with frost. The world is silent. I think, those tags close Merrick's circle. He placed bones at 1 and 2. We found remains at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 circles. 8 offerings across years. The pattern complete. But something nags. The child at 8. Merrick never harmed children. Someone else used his tools, his maps, and added a 9th logic, innocence, a new ritual, a new killer. I return to the station at 1:45 a.m. I lay out artifacts, tags, shards, bones. The task force files in. I point to Site 1 and 2 tags. Merrick did these, confirmed by his confession. Sites 3 through 6 matches timeline. Site 7 femur, Adult match? Site 8 juvenile. Not his MO. Someone else learned and extended the pattern. We have a copycat. Silence. I assigned teams to re-interview anyone who visited the Aoyo between 2016 and now with interest in the circles. Local surveyors, hobbyist drone pilots, geology students. I note, check CB logs for chatter about perfect circles. I note, check second-hand sale of Merrick's maps or journals. At 2:30 a.m., I'm alone in my office. I pour whiskey, neat. I raise the glass to the lamp's glow. I sip, the burn spreads. I think of the sheriff I was, bright-eyed hopeful. I think of the one I am, watching circles in mud. I set the glass down. I open a fresh file, copycat profile. I list traits, knowledge of Aoyo patterns, access to Merrick's materials, willingness to harm a child, procedural precision, familiarity with remote sites. I add, likely local, male, mid-30s to 50s, experience with mapping or surveying. I save. I close the file. I stand. I walk to the window. The station lot is empty. Beyond, the land rolls dark. I whisper, "Show yourself." I leave the station at 3 a.m. I drive home. The sky lightens with promise of dawn. I park, step inside. The house is cold. I wrap in a blanket. I lie on the couch, eyes open. I hear the wind in the eaves, the land breathing. I step out of the cruiser into the hush before dawn. The air is cool. Damp earth smells of last night's rain. I stand at the rim of Site 7's emptied pool. The bone fragments we recovered lie bagged in the cruiser behind me. The mirror-flat water is gone. In its place, cracked clay rings the depression like an echo. I breathe in. I breathe out. I think, this is the last circle I need to sweep. My boots crack in the mud. I walk the rim. I look for any trace I might have missed. A shard of metal, a sliver of fabric, a footprint too faint to see at night. Nothing. The circle is empty now, its secret surfaced and carried away by forensics. I step back. I tap the mic. Site 7 clear. No further evidence. The radio crackles. Copy, Sheriff. All units standing by. I switch it off. I want silence. I kneel at the center. I close my eyes. I hear the hum of the station's neon in my mind. I hear the wind sighing through the mesquite. I hear the land waiting. I open my eyes and stand. I climb into the cruiser. The door thumps shut behind me. I drive to Site 8. The road is slick with dew. Headlights carve pale beams. I pass the fork. I take the left toward Site 8. The wash lies ahead, its oval rim faint in the dim light. I kill the engine. I step onto the cracked clay. The juvenile bones we recovered yesterday rest in evidence bags. The child's tiny skull, a reminder that innocence can be sacrificed to obsession, had changed everything. I brush away dust. The washes hold memories we can't unsee. I walk to the center. Water pools in the shallow trough. I watch ripples spread when a lone leaf drifts down. I tap the mic. Site 8 clear. No new evidence. I wait. Nothing. I step back. I drive out. The world brightens as dawn breaks. I return to the station. I drop evidence. I update files. 8 sites, 8 circles, 7 adult victims, 1 child, 8 revelations. The pattern complete. Merrick's work and the copycat's betrayal of it. I sit in my office. I close the file on Site 8. I open a new document titled Case Closure. My fingers hover over the keyboard. I delete the title. I type, Aoyo Circle Case, concluded. I add bullet points. Merrick convicted. 7 adult victims matched. Juvenile remains at Site 8. Investigation ongoing for copycat. I stop. I stare at the words. They feel false. The child's name is unknown. The victim is anonymous. The real horror, We can solve maps and bones, but not loss. I push the file away. I stand. I walk to the window. The sky is pale. The mesa silhouette is still. I whisper, "It's over." But I don't believe it. I drive home. The road winds through scrub. I think of the child's skull. I think of the missing hands in jars. I think of the surveyor's tags stamped with Merrick's initials. I think of the copycat, someone who learned, who listened, who repeated. At home, I switch off lights. I slip out of my damp coat. I hang it on the rack. I make coffee. I sit at the kitchen table. Steam curls upward. I watch it vanish. I think, the ritual is done. The land no longer holds bones, but it holds memories. I reach into my pocket. I pull out the photo, me at 23. I flip it face down. The bright eyes stare at the table. I close my fist around it. I feel the paper crease. I let it go. I finish coffee. I stand. I walk to the living room. I pause at the child's bicycle propped by the wall, a relic from my niece's last visit. I move it aside. I feel a pang. The child's shoe from Site 8. They are not the same. My niece is safe. But someone's child is not. That shoe could fit any kid. It fits no one now. I step away. I turn out lights. I climb into bed. I lie on my back, arms at my sides. I stare at the ceiling. I think of the land, of circles hidden until rain. I think of patterns only visible from above. I think of the man who saw shapes in the flood and murdered to complete them, and the other man who saw the same shapes and murdered a child to prove himself. I feel exhaustion. I feel grief. I feel an ache that no conviction can fix. I close my eyes. Time passes. I wake to silence. The bed is cold where I turned away. The sheet is tangled at my feet. I lie still. I listen for the hum of neon, the creak of a barn door, the hush of wind in the mesquite. I hear nothing but my own breath. I reach for my phone. I slide to the photos. I hesitate. I open the folder labeled Aoyo. I scroll through drone shots, satellite images, crime scene photos. Circle after circle, empty pool, bone fragments, jars of hands, surveyor's tags, a child's shoe. I stop on the last image, the juvenile skull half submerged in mud, water lapping at its curve. I stare. I feel my chest tighten. I swipe left. The next image is blank. My finger hovers. I swipe again. Nothing. The folder ends. I put the phone down. I sit up. I swing my legs over the bed. I stand. The floor is cold. I walk to the window. Dawn has fully broken. Light seeps through blinds. I open them. Outside, the yard is empty. The world is ordinary. Birds sing. I think the circles are gone. The bones are gone. The maps are archived. The suspect is likely still out there, whoever extended the pattern. The land has no memory. It erases footprints. It grows grass over the wash. I close the window. I turn away. I walk back to the bed. I pause. I remember something I left undone. I reach under the pillow. I pull out the folded sheriff's badge I took off years ago when I considered leaving the force. I look at the metal curve. I feel its weight. I step out into the pale dawn, cruiser idling behind me. The air is cool, almost sharp, carrying the scent of sage and damp clay. I stand at the edge of the Aoyo Wash, where Site 8's pool once lay. Now, it's a shallow basin of cracked mud, emptier than ever. I let the silence settle around me. No bird song yet, no wind stirring the mesquite. Just the land breathing, waiting. I kneel in the center, fingertips tracing the faint rim. This is the final circle I needed to sweep. 7 before, an 8th that no one expected, and now this last one. I think of the victims. 7 adults, 1 child. I think of Merrick's ritual and the copycat's betrayal. I think of the missing hands preserved in jars. The surveyor's stakes, the fragments of bone, the single child's shoe. I close my eyes. When I open them, I see my reflection in the puddles pooled in the tire tracks. Haggard eyes, uniform shadowed by exhaustion. I tap the mic, though no one is listening. Final sweep complete, no new evidence. I rise and drive away, leaving the wash behind. Back at the station, I lay out the last artifacts. The juvenile remains, the survey tags from Sites 1 and 2, the femur fragment from Site 7, the shards from 5 and 6. 8 circles across 8 years. I push them into evidence lockers. The final bones go into the cold storage. I lock the door. In my office, I open the case closure document. I type the last lines. Aoyo Circle investigation concluded. Conviction secured for Leonard Merrick. Evidence of copycat at Site 8, juvenile remains. Case to be continued under missing persons unit. Recommended community outreach and archival of Merrick materials. I pause. The words feel hollow. I save and close. I lean back, fingers steepled, listening to the station's hum. I rise and walk to the locker room. I unzip my uniform jacket, peel it off, hang it neatly. I take my badge from the pocket, its metal cool in my hand. I slip it off the holder and place it on the bench. It's circular, its seal shining faintly. I hesitate, then leave it there. I step away without it. I walk out of the station in plain clothes, the door clicking shut behind me. The world outside is sunlit now. A few early commuters pass on County Road C, unaware of the circles hidden in the earth. I drive home slowly. The miles unfurl beneath me. I think of the badge I left behind, a symbol of authority, now weightless in an empty locker. I think of the land's patterns, of lives reduced to bone and clay. I think of the child whose name I'll never know. At my house, I step onto the porch. The morning is still. I watch a single wren flit across the yard. I breathe deep, taste fresh coffee on the air. I realize I haven't felt this calm in years. I enter, hang my coat, and pour a cup of coffee. I carry it to the living room, where my niece's bicycle leans against the wall. I run a fingertip along its seat. No dust, ready for her next visit. I sit on the couch, coffee steaming in my hands. I glance at the maps on the coffee table. Satellite prints, hand-drawn sketches, case notes. I push them aside. I close my eyes. In the quiet, I hear my own heartbeat. I hear the echo of bone against mud. I hear the land's memory fading as the sun climbs. I open my eyes and stare at the blank wall. I think, some stories end in certainty, others end in silence. This one ends in both. I finish the coffee. I stand, stretch. I walk to the window and look out at the rising sun gilding the mesa. I whisper, not to anyone, "It's done." And in that moment I feel something I haven't felt in years. Peace. Not because the horrors are erased, they aren't, but because I finally let go of the weight. I'm 10:08 on County Road 12. The dash light casts a sickly green glow across my notes. The radio's silent except for distant static. Nothing alive on these channels at this hour. I've been driving these roads for 22 years. I know every rut, every rusted fence post, every dead porch light. I know how quiet this place can be when it wants to hide something. Tonight, the world feels too still. The cicadas have gone silent. Even the tumbleweeds have stopped rolling. I parked outside the diner 15 minutes ago. The neon open flickers, but the windows are dark. No waitress wiping counters, no hum of conversation. I stepped inside once. The bell over the door echoed like gunfire in an empty room. No stools at the counter. Just a single coffee pot, still warm. I poured a cup, black, and drank half before the silence drove me back outside. A light stays on at Walsh's workshop. One bare bulb above the garage door. It hums and buzzes. I can't tell if it's electrical or something in the wiring. I slide out of the cruiser, boots on gravel. The air smells like rain, though the sky is clear. I thought about waiting for backup, but I've learned that some calls you answer alone. The door to the workshop is cracked. I push it the rest of the way. It swings open with a groan. I step in. The smell of ozone hits me, sharp, metallic, mixed with sawdust. His radio gear is everywhere. Coils of wire, circuit boards, half-assembled transmitters. The workbench lamp is still on, illuminating a notebook open to a page scrawled in hurried handwriting. 40 years buried isn't enough. No date, no signature. Just that line underlined 3 times. I feel a chill. I set my coffee on a stool. The seat creaks. I check the wiring on the bulb. Nothing unusual, just old wiring, frayed insulation. The bulb buzzes because it's near death. Normal, but the door behind me clicks. I spin, empty workshop. The door latched itself. The lock is old, it doesn't auto-latch. I pry it open. The latch is sprung. Someone was here, or something. I step outside. The Chevy is gone. No skid marks, no footprints. Just the single light over the door. I call it in. 1023, Walsh Workshop secure. No sign of occupant. The dispatcher answers. Copy that, 10-4. Her voice is warm. She never likes the graveyard shift. I walk around the building. The ground is soft from earlier rain. I see tire impressions. Not truck tires, something smaller. A sedan. 2 sets of footprints leading away toward the lake. I follow them until they vanish at the tree line. The pines are too thick. I hesitate. I've chased rabbits into that tangle before and almost lost a boot. I radio it. 1027, foot search at tree line. Negative so far. No reply. The radio crackles, static. Then a faint voice. Enough! I freeze. The mic is keyed open. I squeeze the button. Dispatch, do you copy? Static. The voice again, barely audible. 40 years buried. Then nothing. I swallow. My heart pounds. I close the hatch on the mic. I tell myself it's the wind. CB ghosts. Local lore. But my fingers still tremble. I head back to the cruiser. The notebook is in my pocket. I didn't plan to take it. It's evidence now. I key the mic again. 10-8 back in service. No response. I drive south on the county road. The lake should be a half-mile east, but I can't see it. The trees block the view. I pass the old tower site. Just a clearing with a rusted hatch half buried. I slow down. The hatch is closed. I remember Helen Maddox's voice. Some things aren't meant for listening, she said. She was 83, but she sounded younger, afraid. I park by the hatch. I kill the engine. The night is absolute. No breeze, no frogs, nothing. I step out. The hatch pad is cold metal. I press my palm to it. It vibrates, barely perceptible, like a distant engine. I lift the cover. Darkness yawns. I shine my flashlight down. Damp stone walls, a narrow stair. Water drips from overhead. I feel the beam catch something white. Concrete. Then the beam spreads across a smear of rust. Old rebar. I close it. Some doors stay shut. Back in the cruiser, I thumb through Walsh's notebook. Sketches of waveforms, equations, notes, cavern acts as amplifier, lake as diaphragm. He believed the geology created a natural speaker. He thought he heard a voice in the static. I don't believe in voices. I believe in motive. Someone silenced him. I drive to the station. Files on the 71 disappearances are on my desk. 3 men vanished near the lake in early spring. Deputy Leonard Harris led that case. He resigned 2 months later. Night terrors, his wife said. He dreamed of water singing. I pull up his personnel file. Medical notes, insomnia, paranoia. Wife's statement. He begged me to burn his notes. I close the file. I don't burn anything. I make copies. The station is quiet. The overhead lights hum. I plug Walsh's notebook into the scanner. Digital impressions. Underneath his pages, he pressed hard. I enhance the scan. An address appears. James Carlson, retired Forest Service, lives 50 miles west. I call him in the morning. I stay late. I watch the clock. I watch the radio. Nothing. I sip bad coffee. My reflection in the window looks tired. I tap the notebook. 1971, I whisper. I feel the weight of decades. I feel the absence, the missing. I leave the station at 4 a.m. The sky lightens in the east. I head home. The cruiser's tires hum on asphalt. I glance at the Lake Road turnoff. I think about going back, but I don't. Not yet. At home, I set the notebook on the kitchen table. My wife left a note. Coffee's on. Don't stay late again. I'm alone. I pour coffee. I open the notebook to the first page. In the margin, in tiny script, help me. I close it. I don't sleep. I sit in the dark and listen. The house is silent, too silent. I wonder what's missing. I wonder what's buried. I wonder how many years it takes before silence becomes louder than any scream. Dawn breaks. I'll call Carlson. I'll follow the thread. But right now, I wait. Because some stories can't be rushed. They unfold in the spaces between heartbeats, in the hush of a workshop, in the static beyond the speaker, in the moments before the light comes back on. And I know this. When the world is quietest, that's when you hear what's been left unsaid. I drive until the sky begins to pale, but the weight in my chest doesn't lighten. Dawn's edges glow behind the pines, yet the world feels darker. I kill the engine on County Road 12 and step onto the gravel shoulder. The air is damp with yesterday's rain and pregnant with things I can't name. I hold the notebook in one hand, the coffee in the other. Both grow cold. I think of Martin Walsh, 42 years old, brilliant, driven. He chased frequencies no one else heard. He thought the earth sang, and in a way it did. It hummed through that cavern, up through the concrete floor, into his microphones. But he heard words, a voice. 40 years buried isn't enough. He wrote it like a warning, or a plea. I flip through his sketches, diagrams of waveforms bouncing off subterranean walls, equations showing resonance frequencies in water-filled cavities. He mapped the cave system under his workshop, found channels leading out beneath the lake. He theorized that moving water created low-frequency oscillations, amplified by the rock. A natural speaker, he called it, a dark amplifier. He wanted to record the hum of the earth. Instead, he recorded something else, something human, or once human. I close the notebook and slide behind the wheel. I call it in, 1023 Fletcher. Sunrise check on County Road 12. No traffic. The dispatcher's voice is distant. Copy that, 1023. I head east toward Echo Lake. The road narrows, shoulder disappears. Pines lean overhead. The lake's surface glints silver. I slow at the water's edge. The cabins across the shore stare back, windows blind. No movement, no sign of life. I switch off the cruiser's lights. The world goes black except for the pale dawn on the horizon. I step out. The ground squishes underfoot. Mud, pine needles, broken shells of freshwater clams. I walk to the water. It laps silently. No breeze, no frogs, no birds. I bend and touch the surface. Cold, still, unforgiving. I imagine that beneath, the caves pulse with waves Walsh chased. Frequencies I can't hear, frequencies that carried a voice, I think of Deputy Harris in 1971. 3 men vanished. He chased their tracks through woods and marsh and found nothing but silence. He came home babbling about singing water. His wife locked the journal away. He burned his notes. But the nightmare stayed. He quit. His health unraveled. He died before the truth surfaced. I stand at the shore and whisper into the lake, "I hear you." Nothing answers. Only the slow rise and fall of water against mud. I turn back toward the cruiser. Footprints surround me, my own in damp earth. No other tracks. But I know they were here, the sedan that dropped whoever sprung that workshop latch. The boots that walked away into the trees. They went silent. Just like Walsh's radio. I drive off the dirt road and onto pavement heading west. The station's archive room opens at 8. I have 2 hours, enough time to think. I pull onto Main Street, one gas station, a closed hardware store, the diner with the flickering neon. Still no life. I tap the horn. Echo. I step out and push open the diner door again. The bell rings. I wait. Nothing moves. I lean on the counter. The metal is cool. I trace a finger along the edge. Coffee pot untouched. I pull out my notebook and write, "Diner empty, coffee cold, silence heavy." I pause. The words seem inadequate. I need more, details. The grit on the counter, the stain where someone scrubbed old coffee grounds, the scrap of paper stuck under a salt shaker. I lift it. Receipt for hardware store, 3:17 a.m., nails and duct tape. I bag it. Evidence of someone here, someone after Walsh. I finish my coffee. Bitter, stale. I leave $1 on the counter. No tip. I step back outside. The neon flickers off. The windows remain dark. I walk to the cruiser, slide in, and call it in. 10:23, diner search complete. Found receipt, hardware store, 3:17. Dispatcher. Copy, evidence logged. I head south to Guthrie, 20 minutes away. Deputy Harris's widow agreed to talk. June Harris lives in a trailer behind the church. White siding, chipped paint, wind chime made of spoons on the porch. I park and approach. Her door opens before I knock. She's small, hunched, hair silver, eyes sharp. "Sheriff Fletcher," she says, voice brittle. "I've been expecting you." She steps aside. The trailer smells of lavender and old wood. Photos line a shelf. Leonard in uniform, smiling. 2 boys, grown now. I sit at her kitchen table. She pours tea, milk and sugar. I don't touch it. "Tell me again," I say softly. She closes her eyes. "He never came back the same, after that case." She taps the table. "He said the lake spoke, that water carries voices, that it wants something." She opens her eyes. "He begged me to burn his notes. I did, but I kept one." She slides a folded paper across. A sketch of the tower foundation. Numbers, April 1971. 3 X's marked inside the concrete base. Underneath, they were alive when they were buried. I feel my stomach drop. I trace the X's. The cave maps Walsh drew match that footprint exactly. 3 bodies in the foundation. Voices coming through water. A voice saying, 40 years buried isn't enough. The pieces converge. I stand. "Thank you, ma'am." I pocket the sketch. She watches me. Worry lines crease her forehead. "Don't go down there," she whispers. "Not alone." I nod. I go anyway. I drive back toward the old tower clearing. The hatch is sealed. I kneel and dig my nails into the metal rim. It shifts. I lift. The dark stair yawns. I shine my light down, damp stone dripping water. I climb. Each step echoes. My boots splash in shallow water pooling on the stair. I reach the bottom. The beam sweeps across concrete walls. Reinforcing rods. Rust. A low tunnel leading away beneath the lake bed. I follow it. Water to mid-shin. The tunnel slopes downward. The beam trembles as I move. I stuff the sketch and notebook into a waterproof pouch. Every breath echoes. My heartbeat thunders. I think of Walsh alone in his workshop. I think of Harris chasing ghosts. I think of Helen's warning. I come to a chamber. The ceiling arches. Water ripples around half-submerged concrete blocks. I see shapes, remnants of the tower foundation, the X's on Harris's sketch. I kneel on a block. Cold seeps through my jeans. I press my palm to the surface. It trembles. Vibration, like distant thunder. I hold my breath. Then I hear it. Soft at first. A low vibration, a hum. Then a phrase, carried on the water's resonance. 40 years buried isn't enough. Clear, director, no distortion, addressed to me. My world tilts. I scramble back, heart slamming. I fumble for the hatch, climb the stairs 2 at a time. The tunnel's voice chases me. I burst into the clearing. The hatch slams. I press my back against it, gasping. The forest is silent. The lake is still. I slide to the ground, press my hands to my ears, trying to blot out the words. They reverberate in my skull. I close my eyes. I think I should never have come alone. I think I should have left well enough alone. I think I hear it, still. Still I drive away without radio. No call, no code, just headlights on gravel. Dawn's light washes the world in pale gold, but I see no comfort in it. I see the lake's dark mirror. I see the missing. I feel the absence. I pull into the station parking lot. I don't go inside. I sit in the cruiser. I open the pouch, the notebook, the sketch. I trace the words, help me. Then, 40 years buried isn't enough. I close my eyes. I whisper, not enough for what? No answer. I drive home. The road stretches. The world wakes. But I carry the chamber's echo in my chest. A voice that shouldn't be. A warning or a promise. I ease the cruiser onto County Road 12 and kill the engine. The morning light seeps through pines, but it feels wrong. Too bright, too soon. I lean forward, elbows on the wheel, breathing hard. The words swirl in my head. 40 years buried isn't enough. Not just a phrase, a summons. I check the pouch, Walsh's notebook. June, Harris's sketch. Both soaked through with other people's fear. I unzip the pouch and flip through the pages. Walsh's handwriting swims on the damp paper. Equations for resonance. Diagrams of cave channels. A note in the margin. New since last night's scan. It speaks clearer down here. He underlined clearer. I tuck the notebook back. I key the mic. 10:23, Fletcher. I'm at the hatch on the old tower pad. I need a 10 to 50 excavation team to check subterranean tunnel. No response. I tap again. Static. The channel is dead. I kill the mic. I should wait. Call it in, but I don't. I slide out, kneel by the hatch and pry it open. Splinters of rust fall away. The stair gapes. I drop in a flashlight. It clatters on stone. I follow. Water sloshes against my boots. The tunnel slopes down. Dampness cloaks me. My breath fogs the beam. At the bottom, I wipe water from my face. The chamber opens. Concrete foundations loom like tombstones half submerged. I step onto one. The beam catches the reinforcement rods, twisted, broken, stained, dark. I run a gloved finger along the edge, rough, abrasive. I imagine 3 bodies pressed into wet concrete. Alive. Struggling, then entombed forever. I pull June's sketch. The 3 X's align with the rods. I trace them on the wall. I close my eyes. I hear dripping. I hear my heartbeat. I push off the block and wade deeper into water. The beam trembles. I stop, focus. The hum returns, low, beneath hearing. vibrating through bone. I cup a hand to my ear. It grows louder. A phrase surfaces, distant, distorted. Isn't enough. I lift the mic. Dispatch, do you copy? Nothing but humming static. I drop the mic. It sinks into water. I retrieve it. Dead. I step forward until water reaches mid-thigh. The tunnel narrows. The beam flickers on mineral deposits, striations in stone like ribs. I realize the cave itself was carved by water over millennia. Natural amplifier. Walsh was right. But who spoke? I reach a fork. Left branch slopes upward. Right branch continues level. The hum is stronger on the right. I follow it. Each step echoes. My boots stir silt. The water ripples. The beam catches something ahead. A metal grate, half buried, bars bent outward. I kneel. Rust flakes off. I push. It shifts. Behind it, darkness. I pull it free. The grate clanks. Water surges through the opening. I shine the beam in. A narrow shaft, wet stone walls rising, no ladder, no stair. My heart hammers. I can climb or turn back. I climb. Hands on slick stone, feet searching for holds. The shaft narrows. I pause where a sliver of light appears above. I climb toward it. Each pull strains arms. I feel the world tilt. I push out a final ridge and haul myself up. I emerge into a concrete vault, a circular room with a domed ceiling. Pipes line the walls. Old water pipes, CB cables, broken insulators. In the center, a shallow pool of water, the hatch overhead. I stare at the pool. The surface is mirror flat. I kneel and touch it, cold as death. I hold my breath. Ripples fan out. In the reflection, I see the ceiling, but something else. A figure behind me. I whirl, empty. I look back at the water. The reflection shows me hunched, but also someone standing beside me. A shape in the water's reflection as real as me, but darker. No features, just silhouette. I snap a photo with my phone. The flash illuminates the vault, pipes, rust, the pool. No silhouette. The image is blank. I lower the phone. The silhouette in the water's reflection is gone. I press my hand to my chest. I feel foolish. Shadows, tricks of light. I stand. I scan the room. On one wall, scrawled in peeling paint, "We buried them alive." Underneath, someone scratched, "And they sing." I step back. The floor vibrates. The pool ripples. I hear singing, 1,000 muffled voices rising from water. A dirge. I stumble. The singing grows louder in my head. Panic spikes. I cover my ears. The vibration thrums through my boots, my spine, my skull. I race for the shaft, climb with reckless urgency. The grate above is stuck, rusted. I drop into water and kick to clear space. I pull at the grate. It gives. I haul myself up into the tunnel. Water sloshes over my head. I surface in the main chamber. I gasp. The hum fades. The singing stops. Only dripping remains. I don't wait. I climb the stair 2 at a time. The hatch slams as I push out. I press my back against it, shaking. Outside, the world is calm. Morning sun warms the clearing. Birds chirp. The lake gleams. No sign of turmoil. I slide to the ground, head in hands. After 5 minutes, I stand. I dust off mud. I pull out my phone. The photo shows only empty vault. I delete it. Evidence of nothing. Better that way. I drive back toward town. The cruiser's engine roars. I bypass the station. I head home. I need to think. I need to plan. I need to decide what I'll tell them. At home, the porch light is on. My wife sleeps. I step inside. I leave boots by the door. I tray my gear on the kitchen table. Soaked notebook, damp sketch, my radio mic, the pouch. I strip wet clothes. I shower. Water sluices off me. I close my eyes. I remember the singing. It wasn't water. It was voices. Human voices. I tow a towel over my shoulders and sit at the table. I open the notebook. Walsh's last entry. Tonight, I'll speak back. Under it, in different handwriting. Don't. A single scrawl. I feel the tremor underfoot. The house settles. I glance at the table. The sketch flutters. No breeze. I pinch it. Still. My pulse spikes. I pull out my laptop. I type, subject, Echo Lake, underground vault. Discovery of inscribed message. We buried them alive, and they sing. Request immediate forensic team for vault. Possible human remains. Audio anomaly. Recorded singing in absence of equipment. I attach June's sketch and a photo of the wall inscription, taken on my body camera. I hesitate. I send. The reply is immediate. Understood. Team dispatched. ETA 4 hours. Stand by. I close the laptop. I lean back. My mind races. They'll dig. They'll find remains. They'll test water. They'll bring lights, cameras, recording gear. They'll confirm human voices or dismiss it as equipment malfunction. But they won't hear the singing I heard. They won't feel the vibration in bone. They'll measure frequencies. They'll log data. They'll write a report. I sip tea. My wife made it. I didn't drink it. Now it's cold. I set it aside. I stare at the pouch. I wonder if I should destroy it. Destroy the notebook. The sketch. Everything that ties me to this. I think of Walsh. He kept going until he died. I think of Harris. He broke. I think of Helen. She warned me. I flip open the sketch. Under the X's, someone added new marks, tiny arrows pointing to the pool's center, a circle drawn around it. The words, hear, voices, gather, in ancient-looking script. Not Harris's, not Walsh's, something older. I close it. I shove everything back in the pouch. I zip it. I lock it in my desk drawer. I stand. I turn off the kitchen light. I leave the porch light on. One small beacon in the dark. I step outside and sit on the porch swing. The morning air is cool. I inhale, exhale. I listen. The world hums. Traffic on the highway miles away. Birds. Wind in the pines. No singing, no static, no voice. I rock once, then twice. I whisper, rest now. I go inside and lie in bed. My wife stirs. I hold her shoulder. She mumbles and turns away. I close my eyes, but sleep won't come. The chamber's vault spins behind my eyelids. Concrete walls, rusted pipes, the pool. That reflection, the silhouette. The words on the wall, the singing. I sit up. I reach for my phone. I open a new file. I title it, Part 2. Notes. I type bullet points. Vault inscription, we buried them alive, and they sing. Singing heard at approximately 40 hertz below human threshold. Possible mass grave under tower foundation. Need geology report on resonance. Interview Merritt again. Confirm Cold War cover-up details. Secure workshop. Protect evidence. Investigate sedan footprints. License plate partial. I stop. I lean back. My fingers hover. I feel exhaustion and something else. Resolve. Morning light filters through curtains. I close the laptop. I stand. I dress. I grab my badge and gun. I slip the pouch into my jacket. I step outside. The world is waking. I head for the cruiser. I start the engine. I flick on the radio, static, then dispatch. Unit 1023, respond to excavation site at Tower Pad. I click back. 10-4, en route. I drive east. The lake glimmers. The vault lies beneath. The past surfaces in whispers. The buried rise in song. And I go toward them. I arrive at the tower clearing just as the excavation crew's headlights carve pale arcs through the pines. The vault hatch lies open, its edges smeared with mud. The FBI evidence technician kneels at the lip, clipboard in hand. A geologist jacks a floodlight onto a tripod. A medical examiner's van idles at the edge of the pad. I kill the cruiser's engine, step into boots stiff with yesterday's damp, and cross to the hatch. Water still drips from the hatch frame. The floodlight halo makes each drop sparkle, then fall. I shine my flashlight down the stair. The vault yawns beneath, silent now. The hum I heard yesterday is gone, replaced by the scrape of shovels and the distant rumble of generators. I tap my mic. 10:23 on scene. All units accounted. Inside, the vault is bright and clinical. Pipes gleam under the floodlight. The shallow pool in the center ripples from the tech's boots. He's standing on a concrete block, looking down. I slip off my jacket and drop it by the hatch. The medic crouches beside the pool, swabbing water into a sterile vial. The geologist shines a UV light on the walls. Inscription still visible. We buried them alive, and they sing. "Morning, Sheriff," the tech says without looking up. His voice is flat, practiced. "We've got 3 skeletons in the foundation, just as sketched. They were bound. Chains corroded into the concrete. We're documenting now." He indicates bone fragments wedged in rebar. Preliminary carbon dating matches 1971. I nod. I step to the pool's edge and peer in. The water is oily gray under artificial light. I half expect to see that silhouette again. There's only my reflection. I press a gloved finger to the surface. It shivers. I pull back. The forensic pathologist emerges from the van, white coat open, badge clipped to his belt. He carries a body bag and plastic evidence markers. "Deputy Fletcher," he says, "I'll need your statement on context before we remove anything." He glances at the pool, then up at me. "Historic case. Cold War era. Remains show perimortem trauma, consistent with binding and asphyxiation." I nod. "They were buried alive," I say quietly. "Someone wanted them entombed." He jots notes. "Any sign of the 4th? I hesitate. I'd half hoped the 4th skeleton, Walsh himself, would lie here, but his remains belong in the workshop. "Only 3, I confirm. Walsh's death is separate." He frowns, then moves off. I turn to the geologist, a woman with windburned cheeks and curious eyes. "Resonance tests?" I ask. She taps her tablet. Water and cave geometry create a 40 Hz fundamental frequency, just below human hearing threshold. We recorded a harmonic overtone at 120 Hz. Nothing supernatural, just physics. She scrolls. But the structure amplifies ambient noise. Any sound in the vault would echo through the lake's cavity system. "So, the singing," I trail off, "is resonance," she says. "Your equipment yesterday probably picked up vibrations amplified through rock and water. Choir of frequencies, not voices." She sounds sure. I'm not. I step back as the pathologist and tech lower a skeleton onto a stretcher. The concrete foundation slab is cut free, revealing bones twisted in rebar. A chain link lies rusted around the femur. I look away. The crew hoists the stretcher and carries it toward the van. I follow. "Deputy Harris's widow provided a sketch," I say to the pathologist. "She marked the foundation corners." I hand him the paper. He studies it. "Accurate," he mutters. "She knew." I slip away from the bustle and climb out of the hatch. The morning air feels thin. I pace the clearing, boots crunching gravel. The floodlights glare behind me. I think of Harris's nightmares, water singing, men trapped alive. I think of Walsh, chasing waves until someone killed him. I think of Merritt, the scientist who walked away from corpses in concrete. I key the mic. 10 to 13 Fletcher. I need Merritt in interrogation room 2. An hour later, I sit across from Dr. Stephen Merritt in the station's interview suite. He's wearing a standard-issue jumpsuit. His hair is disheveled. He looks 60, though his ID says mid-50s. The fluorescent light makes his eyes look hollow. "Doctor," I say, you confess to ordering Walsh's murder. He nods, expression flat. And you admitted covering up the 1971 deaths. He nods again. I slide a photo across the table, the foundation slab with skeletons and rebar. Anything to add? He studies the image. I told you everything. His voice quavers. We panicked. We heard things. I thought the men would talk. He touches the photo. They sang, in the water. I thought if I buried them, the sound would stop. I press. What did you hear, Doctor? Merritt? He stares at the wall. Silence stretches. Finally, a chorus of whispers. A lament. A promise. He shakes his head. It was in my head. It was in the rock. I don't know. I leave him staring at the wall. I walk back to the vault site. The slab is gone. The pit is empty. Evidence markers remain. The pool's gone, drained. The vault looks sterile. They'll backfill it soon. The exclusion tape flaps. I stand at the opening. The forest beyond is bright green. The lake glitters. It all seems innocent. But beneath, the concrete tomb lies. 3 bodies removed. The cave awaits. The lake remembers. I drive to Walsh's workshop next. The door is locked. I try the handle, latched. I pull out the notebook. The last entry. They sing under the floor. Tonight I ask them why. Underneath, in different ink, don't speak. I close the notebook. I push open the door. Inside, it's silent. The soldering iron is cold. The journals lie where I left them. I pick up Walsh's prototype transmitter, the device he built to speak through rock. It's damp with condensation. I wipe it off. I pocket it. Evidence, or bait. Back at the station, I pore over audio from yesterday's excavation. Microphones lowered into the vault. The waveform is a low rumble. No voice. I export the file. Send it to a specialist. They'll confirm natural resonance. I close the file. I feel the absence. No singing captured, only physics. Late afternoon, I visit Helen Maddox. She sits on her porch, knitting. The breeze stirs her hair. She looks up. You found them, she says. No surprise? I nod. 3 bodies. She sighs. Poor souls. She sets knitting aside. Did you hear them? I pause. No. I lie. Just the machines. She studies me. They'll sing for you someday. She smiles sadly. When you stop listening with your ears. I thank her and leave. Her words echo. I drive slowly past the old church. Children's laughter drifts from Sunday school. A preacher's voice rises inside. The world seems oblivious. At my desk, I open the transmitter. I inspect components. Low-frequency oscillator, amplifier circuits, custom coupling plates. Walsh built it to broadcast into rock. I find the power switch. I hesitate, thumb above it. I think of Walsh's last note. Tonight, I'll speak back. And the warning, don't. I flip the switch. The device hums. The coil spins. A faint vibration thrums through the desk. I shut it off. The hum dies. I lean back. The station is quiet. My phone buzzes. Audio specialist report. Natural resonance. No anomaly. I tap out a reply. Understood. I close the message. I cup my hands around my coffee mug. It's cold. I think of the vault, the water, the singing I heard with my own ears. They will chalk it up to expectation, to equipment idiosyncrasy. They will file the case as explained by geology. But I know the truth lies in what they didn't hear, in the absence, in the echo that lingers long after the microphones go silent. I pack up, the station empty. I step outside into night. Stars glint through pine branches. The lake looms dark beyond. I walk to my cruiser. I pause. I look at the road leading east, toward the vault, toward the buried tomb, toward the voices no one records. I climb in. I start the engine. I drive away. Behind me, the gravel pad at Echo Lake lies empty. The hatch is closed. The forest exhales. silence returns. But I carry the vibration in my bones. A reminder that some things aren't fixed by daylight. Some voices remain in the dark, waiting for someone to listen. And I will come back. I roll onto County Road 12 just as the sun dips below the pines, turning the world to bronze and shadow. My cruiser's headlights carve a path through the gathering dark. I kill the engine and settle into the seat, letting the cool air wash over me. The day's revelations churn in my gut. 3 bodies exhumed, merit in custody, resonance explained by geology. Yet I feel the weight of something unresolved. I reach into my jacket and touch the pouch. Inside lie Walsh's notebook, June's sketch, and the prototype transmitter. Evidence, warnings, bait. I lean back, eyes on the closed hatchpad half buried in gravel. The crew taped it off. The vault lies silent underneath. The forest exhales around me. I key the mic. 10:23 Fletcher. I'm running another sweep of the workshop. I'll be off radio until further notice. No reply. The channel remains dead. I kill the mic. I drive east to Walsh's workshop. The road is narrow, shoulders overgrown. Pines crowd the windshield. I turn onto the gravel lane. The single bulb above the garage door is dark. I kill the cruiser and step out. My boots crunch gravel. The air smells of damp earth and faint machine oil. I try the door handle. It's locked. I pull my key ring and open the padlock. The door swings inward on silent hinges. Inside, the workshop is still. Tools lie where I left them. Circuit boards, coils, soldering irons, cold. On the workbench, Walsh's transmitter rests on a sheet of cardboard. I lift it carefully. The metal is cool, edges worn. The low-frequency oscillator sits where he mounted it, coupling plates still attached. I cradle it like a fragile artifact. I set it on a rolling stool and power it up. The small panel glows. The coil spins. A soft hum vibrates through the metal. I place my hand on the bench. I feel the vibration in my palm, in my bones. I key the transmitter's mic input. I lean close. "This is Sheriff Fletcher," I whisper. "If you're still here, speak." Silence. The hum persists. I tap the mic. Nothing. I switch frequencies. I listen. Static. Then, faintly, a whisper under the hum. "Enough." I freeze. The mic's VU meter flickers. I crank the gain. The whisper repeats. "Enough. Barry." I record it. My heart hammers. I shut off the transmitter. The hum dies. The workshop returns to silence. I stand in the dark, breathing hard. I slide the transmitter into the pouch. I bag it as evidence. I step outside. The sky is black, stars bright between branches. I drive back to town. At the station, I transfer the audio file to a secure drive. I listen through headphones. The whisper is real, indistinct but human. "Enough, Barry." A fragmented phrase. I mark the timestamp. I send it to the audio specialist with a note. "Unexplainable whisper on LF transmitter. Please analyze." I close my eyes. Even if they dismiss it as artifact, I heard it. I feel it in my chest. I pace the squad room. Empty desks, fluorescent lights hum. I tap my foot. I key the mic. 10:13 Fletcher. Status? Static. I sigh. I flip off the lights and leave. My next stop is the hardware store on Main. I need duct tape, survey flags, a coil of rope. I park under a flickering street lamp. The store's open late, family run. I push inside. The bell jingles. A teenager at the counter looks up. "Sheriff?" She nods. No cashier. I wander the aisles. My phone buzzes. Message from the specialist. I open it. LF audio contains voice-like modulation at 42 Hz. Likely non-speech energy, but intelligible words present. Recommend further study. I pocket the phone. I grab tape and rope. At the counter, the teenager rings me up. She glances at my badge. "You okay, Sheriff?" I force a smile. "Just another quiet night." She nods, scanning a pack of survey flags. "Good, we need quiet." I pay and leave. Outside, the air is colder. I look east toward the lake. The water gleams silver in the lamplight. I buckle the survey flags to my belt. I drive to the diner. The neon open buzzes. I step inside, just like before. Empty, save for the coffee pot. I pour a cup. The steam curls. I stir 2 sugars. I catch movement in the reflection. The line of survey flags across my belt. They flutter like silent witnesses. I sip coffee. It burns. I set the cup on the counter. I leave $2. I step out into the night. The diner's neon flickers off behind me. I head back to the vault hatch. The excavation crew left at dusk. The tape still hangs, but the hatch is locked. I kneel and secure my rope around the rim. I tie a loop. I hook the survey flags to the loop, bright markers in the dark. I secure the other end around my waist. I slip down the hatch into the tunnel. Water sloshes around my calves. I shine my flashlight ahead. The vault stairway descends into black. I glance at my belt light. It casts a narrow cone. I step carefully on the stone. Each footprint ripples water. The tunnel slopes down. I reach the vault room. The floodlights are gone. Only my beam illuminates pipes and concrete walls. The shallow pool sits at center, mirror flat. I kneel on a survey flag. The fabric cushions my knees. I set the coffee thermos on a block. I unscrew the lid and breath out. Steam vanishes in the cold air. I cup my hands around the thermos and sip. I taste metal. I place it down. I pull out Walsh's notebook and June's sketch. I unfold the sketch. The X's align with the floor. Arrows point inward. Here, voices gather. I open the notebook to Walsh's last entry. Tonight, I'll speak back. Under it, in uneven script, "Don't." I trace the ink. I close the book. I flip to blank pages at the back. I write, "I descended alone. Pool at center. Water still." I spoke, and the cave did not answer. I heard a whisper in the hum, recorded on transmitter. Need to know what it said. Proceeding with caution. I close the notebook and tuck it inside a dry bag. I take the survey flags and stick them upright around the pool, markers for where sound lines converge. I plug the transmitter into its coupling plates and set it on a block. I power it on. The hum returns. The water vibrates faintly. I key the mic. "This is Fletcher. I know you're here. Talk to me." Silence. The machine hums. I wait. My reflection shimmers. I lean closer. The hum warbles. I hear it. A low voice, clear as day. "Why, disturb us?" My heart stops. Primo record. I whisper, "Who are you?" The hum shifts. The voice. "Buried? Alive?" Then nothing. The machine clicks off as if someone cut power. The hum dies. The vault is silent. I grab the transmitter and bag it. I remove the flags. I coil the rope. I climb the stair. I surface into night. The hatch closes behind me with a soft clang. I untie and pull up the rope. I loop it and stash it in my pocket. I drive back to the station. I leave the transmitter for analysis. I file a supplemental report. Discovery of intelligible question on transmitter. Recommendation, psychological evaluation of operator. I sign it. I head home. The sky is starless. I park in the driveway. The porch light is on. I slip inside. My wife's asleep on the couch, TV murmur low. I peel off boots and jacket. I heat coffee in the microwave. I sit at the kitchen table. The kettle clicks. I pour, I add sugar, I stir, I taste the bitterness and swallow. I pull out my laptop. I open the specialist report on the whisper. I read, phrase, "Why disturb us?" Confidence, 78%. I close the file. I think of the vault, the voices singing, the whisper asking why we disturbed them. I type a note. Voices, singing, vault resonance, whisper, why disturb us? Further investigation, ethical considerations, what right have we to excavate? Potential threat, unknown entity. I close the document. I lean back. I feel exhaustion and exhilaration. I glance at the clock. 2:17 a.m. Tomorrow, I'll brief the sheriff's department brass. I'll recommend halting work at the site until we understand the risk. I'll call in a psychologist. I'll prepare for press inquiries. I'll do my duty. But right now, I have to breathe. I step outside onto the porch. The air is cold. I look east at the lake's silhouette. Black mirror. I whisper into the night, "We didn't mean to disturb you." Silence. Then a single drop of water plinks on the porch roof. I look up. No rain, no tree overhead. I step back inside. I shiver. I close the door. I return to the living room. My wife stirs, half awake. I kneel beside her. "I'm home," I say softly. She pets my arm and mumbles. I stand and walk to the couch. I curl into a chair. I pull a blanket over me. I close my eyes. My mind drifts. I see the vault pool, mirror flat. I hear the hum, the whisper, the singing. I feel the absence in the water. I feel something waiting. I drift towards sleep. In the gap between waking and dreaming, I hear it again. Why disturb us? I bolt upright. The chair creaks, the blanket falls. My heart pounds. The TV remote lies on the floor. The screen flickers. A late night infomercial drones on. I kill the TV. Darkness. I stand. I walk to the kitchen. I pour another coffee. I sip. The world is quiet. Too quiet. I glance at the clock. 3:03 a.m. I set the mug down. I run a hand over my face. I return to the living room and sit. I open the pouch. I remove the transmitter. I press the power switch. The coil spins. The hum returns. I lean in. "We're sorry," I whisper. Static, then faint. "Return. Us." I snap off the transmitter. The hum dies. I hold the device in my palm, trembling. I realize I can't keep doing this alone. I need counsel. I need backup. I need someone to share the burden. I leave the transmitter on the coffee table, its faint hum still echoing in my bones. Dawn is hours away, and the house is silent except for the low whistle of the HVAC. I sit in the dark living room, mind racing through every detail. The vault's concrete walls, the singing water, the whisper demanding we return them. I know what I have to do. I gather my gear without turning on lights. Flashlight, notebook, pistol, survey flags, rope, recorder. I slip into my jacket and tiptoe outside. The porch light casts long shadows across the lawn. I secure the transmitter and notebook in a dry bag and sling it over my shoulder. I pause at the edge of the porch, listening. The night is still. Too still. I drive to the station. The streets are empty. I park under a street lamp and step into the lobby. Doors unlocked for the graveyard shift. The front desk officer startles at my entrance. "Sheriff," he says. I nod and head to my office. I flick on the overhead light and set the bag on my desk. I lock the door. I pull out the transmitter and place it under the video camera. I open the recorder and press record. I lean in close. This is Dwayne Fletcher, Lakewood County Sheriff's Office. It's 3:17 a.m. I'm about to return to the underground vault at Echo Lake. I believe the voices beneath the lake demand restitution. I plan to reseal the remains in the foundation, to return them to the earth as they were, only properly. If anything happens to me, this recording and the equipment here will explain why. I click stop. I print the recording file and leave it on the desk with a note. For evidence, should I not return. I pocket the transmitter. I step into the hall. The officer watches me. I nod. He returns to paperwork. I drive out to the tower pad. The crew left hours ago. The hatch is closed, sealed with new concrete. I shine my flashlight on the surface, smooth, freshly poured. No tape, no tape marks, just concrete. The survey flags I left are gone. Someone refilled the hole. I trace the surface with my hand. It's solid, unbroken. I kneel and tap the hatch's rim. It rings hollow beneath. I place my palm on the concrete. I whisper, "I'm returning you." I pull the transmitter from my bag. I set it on the hatch. I power it on. The hum begins. I press the mic. May it rest. I switch the device to transmit low-frequency pulses into the ground. The concrete vibrates. The earth hums. The lake beyond quivers. I stand back. The pulses intensify for a moment, then cut off. The hatch shudders. A crack appears in the fresh concrete. Hairline at first, then widening. Soil and fine gravel shift. I step back as the crack spreads in a circle around the hatch. The earth rumbles softly. I hear faint singing, waterborne voices rising through rock. Then silence. The crack seals itself. The concrete smooths as if nothing happened. The hatch stands whole. I stare. The pulses have stopped. The earth is still. The hatch looks undisturbed. I reach down and touch the crack. Gone. I place my hand where the hatch rim meets the pad, cold, solid, unyielding. I kneel and press my ear to the concrete. Nothing but distant water. No singing, no whisper. I close my eyes. I sense them. 3 souls, finally quiet. The lake exhales. The weight lifts slightly. I stand. I kill the transmitter. It powers down. I bag it. I wipe my fingerprints from the hatch. I stand in the clearing. Dawn's first light paling the sky. The lake gleams, calm as glass. The forest breathes. I drive home. The recorder and transmitter stay at the station. I retrieve the printed log. I file it in evidence. I write my final report. Vault resealed. No further activity detected. Case closed. I sign and date it. At home, I step inside. My wife wakes. "You okay?" she asks. I nod. "Just finished paperwork." I hug her. She breathes relief. I hold her tight. That night, I sleep. Heavy, dreamless. The porch light stays on. I wake at dawn, coffee in hand. I glance east at the lake. It's still. The vault lies beneath, sealed. The voices rest. I know the secret of Echo Lake. I carried it down into the dark and laid it back to rest. Some stories demand an ending written in quiet deeds, not words. I will keep the secret. I will guard the silence. Because some things, once disturbed, can only be healed by returning them, by burying the past and ourselves in the solid weight of the earth. I remember the first time the radio went silent on me. It was just past midnight, and I was on Route 67, south of Archer City. The hum of the engine, the steady click of the turn signal as I drifted through a left curve, that was my world. I'd been 10-6 going dark for nearly 20 years by then. Quiet nights were supposed to be easy. Not that night. The diner's neon buzzed through the windshield. One flickering red, open sign, 2 empty stools at the counter. I pulled in, cut the engine, and sat a moment in the dark. The CB crackled once, static, and died. I flipped the switch. Nothing. I stepped out, boots on gravel, and pushed the door. The bell chimed. No one looked up. The cook behind the grill kept flipping patties. A lone waitress scrubbed coffee cups. I slid onto a stool. "Coffee," I said. She nodded without stopping. The cook glanced at me, then back at his grill. No welcome, no curiosity. I was just the sheriff. Everybody assumed I was here all the time. That's how small towns work. My coffee arrived black in a chipped mug. I sipped. The steam fogged my glasses. I studied the door, wind rocking it in its frame, the latch clicking. Wind or something else, I couldn't tell. I traced the grain of the counter with my fingertip. The waitress cleared her throat. "Y'all okay, Sheriff?" she asked. Voice low, careful. Everyone around here knew me, and most of them knew better than to lie about trouble. I nodded. Just the radio acting up again. I managed a small, tired smile. She didn't buy it. No one ever did. I left $20 on the counter, more than the tab, and stepped back into the night. The wind had picked up. The door creaked shut behind me. I walked to my cruiser. The world felt wrong in that quiet way, like all sound had fled and left a vacuum. I closed the door, clicked the radio back on. Still silence. I drove on. The road stretched flat between fields of dying corn. I thought of Miranda Collins's bracelet, the one we finally found behind that compressor. The sleep left my mind. I ran a hand over my face. Routine, I told myself. Just another midnight shift. By the time I reached Ridge Road, the moon had slipped behind clouds. My headlights caught glimpses of an old plant off to the right, broken windows, rusted siding. Storage room B, I thought, behind the compressor. I parked under a dead street lamp and grabbed my flashlight. The beam cut a pale circle across the weeds. I climbed through the low window, easy enough for someone who'd been inside once. The air was musty. Bits of plaster drifted to the floor. I stepped carefully, boots echoing on concrete. My light found the compressor, rusted metal, coils like ribs. I circled it. Behind, the wall looked slightly different. Newer wood, faint scratch marks. I knelt, pressed my palm to the seam. It gave. I pried it open. There, in a plastic bag, lay the bracelet and license. I touched the metal clasp. Cold. I closed my eyes. Imagined Miranda's smile, the way she'd waved goodbye that November morning. She never got on the bus. No. Warning. Just gone. I stood. Footsteps in the next room. My hand went to my holster reflex, but the door was empty, wind through broken glass. I exhaled. Routine. I slid the bag into my coat pocket. Shut the panel, crawled back out the window. I sat in the cruiser, heart uneven. I keyed the mic. "Dispatch, this is 1023. I've got evidence. Miranda Collins items. Processing plant, North Ridge Road." My voice sounded distant. Static hummed. I waited. No reply. I locked the doors, drove back to the station, slowly, as if moving faster would tear the world apart. The street was empty, houses dark. A single porch light on Elm Street blinked once, twice, then died. I thought of the child's bicycle in the ditch down there. No child, just metal and memory. At the station, I found Deputy Carter at the desk. He looked up, startled, like he'd forgotten I existed. "Morning, Sheriff," he said. His voice was too loud. "Drop everything," I told him. "We're going back out to Ridge Road. Grab the squad and evidence kit." He nodded, grabbing keys. His shoes squeaked. I watched him go. The station felt too bright, too safe. I turned off the overhead lights until only the desk lamp glowed. My desk was clean. Files stacked. Coffee ring on a report from 2 days ago. I touched the envelope Carter had pulled from under the door. Nothing but that note. The paper felt thin, too fragile for what it carried. I heard the cruiser pull up outside. Carter and 2 others piled in. I followed. No sirens, no lights. We were ghosts slipping into the night. Back at the plant, we moved as a unit. 4 shadows with flashlights. They pried open the panel again, bag lifted, evidence logged. Carter's hands trembled. I said nothing. He looked at me, eyes wide. I nodded. That was all. On the drive back, Carter tried small talk. I turned it off. The road didn't need chatter. Silence was part of the job. Silence keeps you alert. Silence is louder than a scream. When we got to Whitford Park 3 days later, it was colder. Leaves skittered across the trail. We'd come because of that second note. 1 found, 3 to go. I hated that phrase. It sounded like a game, a sick game. We searched until dogs alerted at a thicket. Branches snapped underfoot. We found a hidden well. Plywood rotten, brush piled high. I shone my light down the shaft. Nothing but darkness. Carter lowered the rope and climbed down. He shined his light on something pale. Bones, fragments. We hauled them out. Eliza Watts, aged 22. Disappeared in 2001. Labeled runaway. No one listened then either. I closed my eyes. I felt years drop onto my shoulders. The weight of every unsolved case in this county. The weight of every voice nobody heard. On the drive back, the cruiser's heater rattled. Carter kept glancing at me. I stared at the road, radio still dead. I thought, routine gone wrong. Social silence, a mother's plea ignored. A town that pretended nothing happened. We processed the scene, bags, tags, photos. By the time we left, dawn was breaking. Pink light on the pines. A robin called, it sounded foreign. The third note came before we'd even ID'd Eliza. 2 down, Sheriff, 3 to go. It pointed to a logging road. Mile marker 34. I felt sick. We found Carol Masterson under that lightning-struck pine. 6 feet down, unmarked, forgotten. Each discovery made it harder to breathe. Each body was someone's sister, daughter, friend. Each had been dismissed, a runaway, a moved away. They were ghosts in paperwork, until someone decided to tip the scales. Inside the station, I locked the new evidence cabinet. The last note slid under my door. Last one. The monster wore a badge. Harrison Quarry. I drove out alone. Gravel crunched under my tires. The quarry was silent, except for wind whining across broken stone. I climbed down into the pit, flashlight in hand. Behind fallen slabs, I saw the shapes. Patricia Donahue, 19 years old when she vanished. She lay as if sleeping, though death had long since settled in. I knelt. The wind caught my voice recorder in my pocket. I pulled it out, hit record. This is Sheriff Keller, Patricia Donahue, found at Harrison Quarry. 4 victims, 1 truth. Someone in blue killed them. Someone we trusted. I paused. The line crackled. I closed my eyes, thought of Garrett, my mentor, the man who taught me to carry the weight. How many times had he said, "Protect this county, son. Protect it with everything you've got." He'd protected himself by burying victims. I left the recorder running, walked away, let the wind fill the silence. Weeks later, evidence pointed to Garrett. Soil analysis, boot polish, trophies in his safe. He was arrested without ceremony, no confession, no breakdown, just silent cuffs. We still didn't know who wrote the letters. Margaret Donahue's final words, carried by someone who believed. The station installed cameras. I changed locks. Still, letters appeared, hand-delivered. Someone knew every blind spot. In 2021, I retired. Re-elected 3 times, each term a reminder. This job never ends. At my desk now, I keep that first note and the last. I listen for silence. I remember every creak of a door, every radio static, every absence that spoke louder than words. I drive Route 67 sometimes, alone. The diner's neon flickers. I sit at the stool, I wait for the radio to die. And I remember the weight of silence and the cost of speaking. I climb back into the cruiser without a word. Dawn is a pale promise on the horizon. cold light spilling over fields that seem unchanged, as if nothing ever happened. But I know better. I feel the weight in my coat pocket where the recorder sits, still clicking, still breathing out my words into the empty cab. We found Patricia Donahue 2 days ago at Harrison Quarry. 4 bodies now: Miranda, Eliza, Carol, Patricia. Each one a silent testament to trust betrayed. Each one a story the county pretended not to hear. I pulled the panel off that compressor. I watched Carter lower himself into the well. I pried dirt from roots in the logging road clearing. I shone my flashlight over Patricia's still form. And now I drive, hands loose on the wheel, listening to the engine's steady hum. No radio, no dispatch, just the cruiser and me and the memory of every footstep I've followed into darkness. The road curves toward Archer City. Houses begin to dot the roadside. Farmhouses with chipped paint, mailboxes leaning at odd angles. A rooster crows. Somewhere, a dog barks, then stops. I pass the turn for Whitford Park. The sign is faded. No trespassing. Yet we went in anyway. We always go in. I think of the mother who wrote the last letter, Margaret Donahue. She died in 2007, but her voice carried on. Carried in typed pages, in secrets passed to someone with the courage to leave them on my desk. Her final plea: find them. She never wanted glory. She wanted her daughter back. When that was impossible, she settled for justice. I slow at the edge of town. The diner where I sat that first night is shuttered now. New owner, new rules. The neon open sign is gone. The parking lot is empty. I park under a street lamp and kill the engine. The hush is almost unbearable. I step out, hear gravel shift under my boots. I trace the building's outline with my flashlight. Nothing moves, no birds, no wind, just the still weight of morning. I think of Garrett, former sheriff, my mentor. He taught me how to read a scene, how to wield presence, how to keep the peace. He never taught me how to face betrayal from within. I remember his face when they cuffed him, blank, unreadable. He said once, "Sometimes protection means removing threats." I wish I'd understood the warning then. I slip back in and drive on. I pass the old schoolhouse, graffiti on the back wall, half washed away by rain. I think of children who rode the bus past here. I think of that bicycle in the ditch. No child, just metal and memory. I imagine the owner grown now, wondering what happened that night. I pull into the station parking lot. It's nearly empty. Just Carter's cruiser and mine. I step inside. The fluorescent lights hum. Security cameras swivel. I walk to my office. The door closes behind me with a soft click. I set the recorder on the desk, next to the locked cabinet holding the final evidence. I sit. The world outside is ticking up into business as usual. Mail delivered, coffee brewed, radios back online. But inside these walls, the silence remains, uncomfortable, restless, expectant. I lean back, close my eyes, and listen to the soft whir of the ventilation. I remember the crunch of leaves at Whitford Park, the smell of rot in the processing plant, the cold damp of the quarry pit. Each memory is a weight in my chest. I reach into my pocket and pull out the last note, Margaret's words. I read them again. I couldn't bring my daughter back, but I could ensure he paid. I fold the paper and place it beneath the recorder. I hit stop. The red light goes out. I don't know who finished Margaret's work. Maybe I never will. Maybe it was someone who refused to let those girls be forgotten. Someone who knew that silence buries more than truth. It buries innocence, hope, memory. I stand and walk to the window. The county spreads out below in neat parcels. Fields, roads, houses, forests. All the places I have searched. All the places I've been told to look away from. I turn away. There are no more letters, No more bodies. The killer is in custody. The evidence is sealed. The cameras are rolling. And yet, the quiet remains. A door left ajar. A radio that still crackles with static in the dead hours. A set of footprints in mud that no one claimed. I pick up the phone and dial dispatch. My voice is low. 10 to 8, I say, back in service. The clerk responds. Normal hours resume. The station lights brighten. The phones ring. The day begins. But as I hang up, I know the truth. Some stories never end. They just settle into the corners, behind compressors, in hidden wells, beneath pine roots, behind fallen rocks, and wait for someone to remember. I turn off the lamp. The office goes dark. I walk out into the hallway. The cameras click. I pass by Carter's desk. His computer screen sleeps. I offer no greeting. He nods. We both know what lingers here, the weight of 4 lives and the echo of a mother's voice that refused to be silent. I step outside into the morning sun. The world looks bright, warm, untroubled. I pull my coat tighter. I walk to my cruiser. Before I climb in, I look back at the station one last time. The badge above the door gleams, a symbol of protection and of failure. I close my eyes, breathe. The cruiser's door thumps shut. I start the engine. The road ahead is open. I pull onto Route 67 and accelerate into the day. But the night still lives in me, and I carry it forward, because someone has to remember. And so I drive. The road out of Archer City stretches empty beneath the bleached sky. I drive without purpose. My hands rest lightly on the wheel. I think of the bodies we found. 4. 4 lives we uncovered. 4 stories we were told to ignore. I turn off at the county line. The sign reads Red Pine County. I cross it like a monument. I park at Whitford Park's entrance. The gate is rusted, paint flaking. I step out and walk in. The path is narrow. Fallen leaves drift in the breeze. I breathe deeply. The air smells of damp earth and pine. I follow the trail toward the old well. No markers, no signs, just memory. When we found Eliza Watts, the well was hidden under brush. I clear a few branches now. The plywood cover lies rotted. I kneel and touch the wood. Splinters break under my fingertips. I lift it. The shaft yawns beneath me. I drop a pebble and count the echoes. 1, 2, 3, then nothing. I stand and step back. The memory is sharp. Carter lowering himself on that rope. The smell of rot. The quiet splash when he reached the bottom. The careful bagging of bones. The hush among the team. The sense that something old and terrible had finally been heard. I leave the well and head deeper. The woods close in. Branches scrape my jacket. I think of Carol Masterson under the pine. The thunderstorm the night she died. The lightning strike that scarred the tree. I find that pine now. Its trunk is blackened and cracked. I press my palm to the bark, rough, scarred. I imagine Carol's last moments, rain pounding, fear rising, a man's boot on soft earth. Then silence. I walk on, each step slow. The path curves toward the logging road. Mile marker 34. I find the spot, a clearing ringed by pines. The ground is soft, years of needles matted. I kneel and stroke the soil. 6 feet down, we found her. Patricia Donahue. She lay like a girl asleep, pale in death. I close my eyes and see her face, young, afraid, trusting. I rise and keep going. The quarry is next, Harrison Quarry. I can see the broken walls from here. Granite faces cut by machines long silent. I climb over a fallen slab. The pit yawns below. I walk the edge. My flashlight would be useless in daylight. I crouch behind the rocks where we found her. The earth there is damp. I press my fingertips into the soil. I taste grit on my tongue. I taste memory. I stand and exhale. The wind picks up. A distant crow caws. I turn away and walk back toward the road. Each sight is a wound in the land. Each body a secret unearthed. Each letter a voice in the dark. I think of the anonymous writer, the one who delivered the notes, the one who knew these places better than I do. I slide back into the cruiser. The engine rumbles. I drive toward town. Traffic light at the crossroads. I stop. The light flickers green. I go. Red Pine County rolls past my window. I think of the families, the mothers, fathers, siblings who never stopped wondering. I think of Margaret Donahue, her grief, her journals, her final act. I pull into the station, doors locked, cameras blinking. I step inside, the clerk nods, I walk down the hall, each office door is closed. I pause outside Garrett's old office, now empty. I lean my shoulder against the wall. I feel the paint's rough texture. I imagine Garrett sitting behind that desk. Paperwork before him. Decisions that cost lives. I push off and move on. I enter my office. The recorder sits waiting. I flip it open. The red light is off. I press play. My voice echoes. This is Sheriff Keller. I listen to myself talk about Patricia, about the monster in a badge, about the cost of silence. I stop it. I close the recorder. I open the top drawer. The letters lie there, 5 in all. I lift the first. The paper is yellowed. The edges frayed. I unfold it. The type is crisp. I know what happened to Miranda Collins. I run a finger along the line. I fold it back. I pick up the second, the third, the fourth, the final. Each one a step in the journey. Each one a hand reaching through time. I stand and walk to the window. The sun is higher now. Town life stirs. A mail truck idles outside. A woman walks her dog. A child pedals a bike down the sidewalk. I watch them. I think of the bicycle in the ditch. No child, just metal, memory, fear. I turn away. I walk back to my desk. I pull out a blank sheet of paper. I pick up a pen. I write, "To anyone who listens, remember them." I pause. I add, "Speak when you see something wrong. Don't let silence bury the truth." I sign it. Thomas Keller, Sheriff, retired. I fold the note and place it with the letters. I close the drawer. I lock it. I pocket the key. I step back. I look around. The office is quiet, still, waiting. I walk out. The station doors slide shut behind me. I step into the afternoon light. The world is bright, warm, unaware. I pull my coat tight. I head to my cruiser. I climb in. I start the engine. I drive out of town. The highway stretches ahead. I shift into gear. I roll past the sign. Red Pine County, population 17,000. I leave it behind, but I carry the weight with me. The road curves, the fields open. The sky stretches wide. I think of the night, the darkness, the silence, the voices that spoke through typed letters, the bodies we found, the truths we uncovered. The sky has shifted to a bruised purple by the time I pull off Highway 16 onto the gravel logging road. Mile marker 34 passes by unremarked. Just a weathered post, half buried in grass. The trees crowd close, their trunks dark against the dimming light. I kill the headlights and coast to a stop. The engine's quiet hum fades, leaving only the soft whisper of wind through pine needles. I step out, flashlight in hand. The beam cuts a tunnel of pale light through the gathering dusk. Needles carpet the ground. Every footstep is muffled, swallowed. I find the clearing without effort, just a break in the trunks, a shallow hollow ringed by sentinel pines. The air smells of damp wood and decay. This is where Carol Masterson lay, 6 feet down beneath the lightning-struck pine. I kneel at the base of that tree. Its blackened bark is cracked like dried earth. The scars climb toward broken branches. I press my palm to the burn, feel the rough ridges. I picture her there, Carol, her hair dark against pale skin, her eyes wide with confusion. She'd been 22 when she vanished. They said she ran away. They said she'd come back when she was ready. They said nothing. My breath fogs in the beam. I close my eyes, remember Carter's voice when the dogs hit that scent, the way he swallowed before he radioed in, the hush that fell when we uncovered her bones. No shouting, no tears, just the weight of truth pressed into the soil. I rise, walk the perimeter. The clearing is silent except for my boots. I shine the light toward the road. No cars, no headlights, just dark shapes beyond the trees. I think of the third letter. 2 down, Sheriff. Your county has forgotten too many. The logging road off the Highway 16, mile marker 34. The clearing with the lightning-struck pine, 6 feet down. You won't believe who put her there. Clocks ticking. I taste the words again. You won't believe who put her there. At the time, I thought it meant some stranger, some drifter burying secrets. Now, I know better. It meant someone we trusted. Someone with a badge, someone whose footprints match the polish on the soil. I pull my coat tighter. The air has a bite. I walk back to the cruiser. The headlights flicker on, illuminating the road ahead in 2 pale arcs. I pause before climbing in. The forest seems to lean in, as if listening. I think of Miranda's bracelet glinting behind that compressor, of Eliza's bones in the well, of Carol beneath this pine. 4 stories of absence, 4 voices silenced, 4 truths uncovered. I close the door and drive on. The highway beckons with the promise of light. The station is still hours away. I don't radio in. Let them think I'm off duty, taking time. I need the quiet. I need the road. As I drive, I pass the turn for the old processing plant, the first scene. Rusted siding gleams in my mirror. I remember creeping through that window, the beam on the compressor, the panel seam, finding the bag. That moment when the world cracked open and proof spilled out. I remember the cold plastic, the weight of it in my hand. I reach the edge of town as streetlights awaken one by one. The diner on Main Street glows faintly. No open sign now, just dark windows. I slow, then turn onto Elm. Houses stand in silent rows. A porch light flickers. A cat darts across a yard. I think of the schoolhouse, graffiti half erased. The child's bicycle in the ditch. No child. I stop at the station. It's quiet. Too quiet. I step inside. Cameras track me. I nod to the clerk, who doesn't look up. I head to the evidence locker. The new cabinet stands where it always does, welded shut, combination locked. I enter the code and open it. Inside, 4 evidence bags, each labeled with a name and date. I lift each in turn. The weight is real, plastic crinkling, tokens of vanished lives. I close the door. In my office, I place the bags on my desk. The recorder sits beside them. I push play. My voice fills the room. This is Sheriff Keller. 4 lives found. 1 truth remains. I let it run. The mechanical click of the recorder is a metronome marking time since their disappearances. I watch the bags. I imagine the hands that packed them, the careful zip seal, the sterile gloves. I imagine the hands that left the letters, the careful typeface, the deliberate anonymity. I press stop. The red light dies. I lean back. The ceiling lights hum. I feel the tremor in my hands. I close my eyes. In the hush, I hear something else, the soft scrape of paper. I open my eyes. On the corner of my desk is a 5th envelope, cream-colored, heavier than the others. I didn't see it before. No name, no return. My heart pounds. I slide it toward me. The paper crackles as I lift the flap. Inside, a single sheet, handwritten in a neat script. Sheriff Keller, you found them. I kept my promise. 4 souls freed from silence. But silence was never broken, it just moved. Listen for it. A friend of the lost, no signature, no clue. My pulse echoes. I fold the note, place it atop the others. A 5th voice in the quiet. A reminder that someone else watched, waited, believed. Someone kept vigil when the world looked away. I stand, walk to the window. The parking lot is empty. Dawn has not yet broken, but the sky glows pale. I think, the final section must end with a twist that can't be fixed. This is it, this moment. I turn from the window. My reflection stares back, lined face, tired eyes. The badge pinned to my chest gleams dully. I step back to the desk. Open the drawer, retrieve the key. I unlock the hidden safe. Inside, Margaret Donahue's journals, the typewriter ribbons, the watch, the bracelet, the keys, tokens of memory and grief. I close the safe and remove the key. Then I take off the badge, hold it in my palm. Cold metal. I place it on the desk, next to the recorder and evidence. I step back. The badge lies there, separated from me. A symbol of authority, a symbol of failure. I walk out of the office without it, leave the door ajar. The corridor lights flicker. I descend the stairs 2 at a time. At the station entrance, I pause. The sun's first rays touch the horizon. I step outside. The air is sharp. I breathe deeply. Behind me, the station stands silent, doors unlocked, badge and stories waiting inside. Ahead, the highway stretches east. Unknown miles of road, of dawn, of days beyond the case. I climb into my cruiser, no badge on my chest, just a coat. I start the engine. I turn off the engine and sit for a long moment in the hush. Dawn's light has not yet reached the quarry rim, but the sky is thinning from black to ink blue. I can feel the cold settling into my bones. Autumn mornings always bite deeper after nights like this. I pull my coat tighter and step into the pit once more. Boots crunching on gravel and broken stone. The air smells of damp granite and something older beneath it. A faint trace of earth and decay that sticks in my throat. I walk to the spot where we uncovered Patricia Donahue's body. The fallen rock still bears the scrape of our pry bars. I kneel there, fingertips brushing the dust. It's strange how even disturbed ground can settle back into seeming undisturbed. The contour of the earth looks natural again, as if no body was ever there, but I know better. I trace the outline in my mind. 6 feet down, she lay like sleep come early. I imagine her face in that fresh morning of 1997. Hopeful, restless, unaware of the danger she'd stumble into. I close my eyes and breathe. Behind my eyelids, I see the flash of the flashlight beam. Carter's arms reaching down the slope. The silent bag lifted into view. I remember tallying the evidence tags, hearing Carter swallow before he spoke her name into the radio. Silence answered him then. Silence answers me now. I open my eyes and stand, the ache of memory in my joints. I step back and run my palm along the granite. Polished, smooth in places, pitted in others. The stone won't speak. It only holds. I climb out of the pit and follow the narrow service road up to the rim. The forest beyond is still dark, silhouettes of pines motionless against the sky. I switch on my flashlight and walk slowly toward the tree line. Somewhere beyond those trees lies the logging road clearing. Mile marker 34. The wind has dropped. The world feels paused, as though holding its breath. At the forest edge, I pause. The light from the quarry falls away into shadow. I step off the gravel and onto the needle-strewn earth. My boots disappear into the carpet of last season's leaves. I walk without looking back, guided by memory and the shape of the land. Every step is familiar. The rise where the ground levels, the dip into the hollow, the ring of pines overhead. I reach the clearing and kill the flashlight. The gloom here is absolute. I can barely make out the silhouette of the lightning-scarred pine. I circle the tree, hands at my sides. The trunk yawns with cracks and char, the bark peeled away in places like old scabs. I place my palm in a blackened groove. My fingertips trace the scar that splits the trunk from root to branch. I press my forehead against the rough wood. I think of Carol. The way her hair would have fallen across that same bark, the quiver in her shoulders as she realized help would not come. I think of the moments when instinct tells you to run, but your legs refuse. I breathe her unspoken terror into the tree. It does not answer. I step away and hold the beam out, sweeping the clearing's perimeter. The needles lie undisturbed, though we turned them over when clues surfaced. The soil is smooth. A single stone rests where I might have kicked it aside. The world here is the same as always. Only I know what is buried beneath. I walk back the way I came, head bent against an ache that is not physical. Every tree looks like a sentinel. Every shadow conceals a secret. I reach the gravel road, raise the flashlight, and start the cruiser. The headlights flare, illuminating the pines in sharp contrast. I drive on, leaving the clearing to its quiet vigil. The highway is empty. I accelerate, chasing the horizon. The sky lightens, streaks of purple and rose bleeding into pale gold. I pass the exit for Ridge Road, the site of the processing plant. I think of that first scene, a broken compressor, a false wall, the plastic bag with Miranda's bracelet and license. I remember prying that panel off, the crack of wood against metal, the hush when the evidence dropped into my hand, the hush of proof after years of nothing. I slow as I pass, imagining the building in its decay, empty except for rust and echoes. I drive on until I reach the cluster of houses on the outskirts of town. The schoolhouse stands dark, its windows boarded. I recall the graffiti on the back wall, a child's scrawl smeared by rain. A bicycle lay in the ditch. No child. The memory of that metal frame, half sunken in mud, still haunts me more than any body. I park across the street and kill the engine. I watch the school from the cruiser's windshield. The street is silent. The air smells of damp asphalt and wood smoke from distant chimneys. I open the door and step onto the pavement. The cold hits me again. I walk to the ditch. The bicycle is gone, hauled off, I assume. A hollow frame remains in my mind. I kneel by the empty grass. I touch the earth where the wheels once lay. I imagine the child's last glimpse of the world before night swallowed them. I imagine the whisper of tires on asphalt, the sudden stop, the final silence. No metal, no memory, only the imprint in the dirt. I rise and walk back to the cruiser. The radio crackles once. I jerk, staring at the dash. The static dies. I kill the ignition and sit. My breath steams on the glass. I think of the dispatcher's voice when I finally called in each find, calm, procedural, unaware. 10-4, evidence logged, proceed to next call. The words felt hollow then. They feel hollow now. I step out again, leave the door open. I lean against the roof, arms crossed, and watch the sky bleed light. After a long moment, I close the door and drive the last mile to the station. I park in my usual spot. I don't turn off the engine. I sit in the gray morning glow, engine ticking as it cools. The station's windows stare back, empty rectangles reflecting dawn. I reach for the recorder on the passenger seat. I press play. My voice fills the cab. 4 victims, 1 county, 1 monster wearing a badge. I let it play until the hiss and tape clicks drown out my words. Then I hit stop. I climb out and carry the recorder inside. The hall lights buzz. The clerk glances up, uninterested. I nod and continue past him to my office. The door is ajar. Inside, the desk is neat. The evidence bags rest beside the letters. I set the recorder down. The final envelope, the handwritten one, lies on top. I pick it up, fingertips brushing the ink. I read it again. Listen for it. Listen for the silence that screams these truths. I open my desk drawer and pull out the badge I removed. I hold it over the envelope. The metal gleams. I think of Garrett's words. Sometimes protection means removing threats. I place the badge on the paper, the weight of metal against fiber. I close the drawer, lock it, and pocket the key. I sit and stare at the locked drawer. Behind it, the evidence and notes, the tokens of lives once hidden. Ahead, the door marked exit. I rise and walk out, leaving the badge and letters behind. The hall is empty. I step into the morning light. The door closes softly. I walk to my cruiser. The world is waking. A mail truck rumbles by. A newspaper tumbles across the lawn. A neighbor unloads groceries. They do not see me. They do not know. I slide behind the wheel, start the engine, and pull away. The highway stretches east. I shift into gear. The sun climbs higher. Heat will come. But I carry the cold of those sights in my bones, the ache of every unsolved disappearance, the echo of 4 voices demanding to be heard, and the whisper of a 5th, unseen ally who refused to stay silent. I drive on, past the county line. The sign recedes in my mirror. Red Pine County. I leave it behind, but I do not forget. The road hums beneath me. The sky is bright now, but shadows linger at the edges. I lean back, close my eyes for a moment, and feel the cruiser's steady vibration. I drive until the road narrows and the world falls away to fields and fence posts. The sun is high, but the air still carries the residue of night's chill. I pull off onto a side road I know leads toward the old cemetery on County Road 12, the place Margaret Donahue walked when she first suspected Garrett. The gate is rusted open. I kill the engine and step onto the grass. Headstones lean in the rows like tired sentinels. I wander between markers, reading names and dates. Most are long dead, stones from the 1800s, weathered smooth. I find the Donahue plot, a granite stone for Patricia, 1977 to 1997. Next to it, a smaller stone for Margaret, 1948 to 2007. I kneel, fingertips tracing the letters. The edges are sharp, recently cleaned. Someone tended this place. I feel the ache of absence, a mother and daughter reunited only in death. I stand and turn toward the tree line. Beyond it lies the abandoned mail shed where Margaret's sister kept her journals. I push through brambles and step inside the lean-to. Sunlight filters through slats. Dust motes drift. On a rotting shelf sits a weathered box. I open it. Inside, Margaret's leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed. I lift it gently and flip to the last entry. They're all found. 4 lives reclaimed from silence. But I fear the story's not over. The one who finishes this will carry my grief forward. Beware the hollow peace that follows discovery. It can't bring them back, only remind you what's lost. I close the journal. My breath catches. I realize Margaret never meant peace, only remembrance. I tuck the journal under my arm and step back into sunlight. I drive to the processing plant one last time. The structure stands empty, vine-choked. I find the broken compressor in room B. I press my hand to the wall where the panel once was. The wood is gone, replaced by rust and rot. I imagine Miranda's bracelet behind it, the weight of proof in my palm. I whisper, "We remember you." I walk outside, the asphalt hot under my boots. I look north toward Ridge Road, east toward Whitford Park, south toward the logging clearing, west toward the quarry. Each site holds a piece of the story. Each piece ends in memory, not resolution. I climb into the cruiser and head back to town. I pass the diner, still closed. I pass the schoolhouse, still boarded. I pass the station, badge and letters locked away. I think of the final envelope. Listen for it. I realize the final twist is not another body, not another letter. It's this. Justice uncovered their remains, but it cannot restore their lives. The case closed, the killer imprisoned, but the living carry the loss forever. I park on Main Street and step into the bookstore. The owner nods. I browse until I find a blank notebook. I buy it and leave. Outside, I sit on the curb, open the cover, and begin to write. I sat across from a mother in her kitchen one night years ago as she wept for her daughter. She told me, "Find her, Sheriff, so the world will know she mattered." I found her and 3 others, but finding them did not bring them back. It only brought their silence into the light. My pen slows. I close the notebook. The words are enough. I stand, tuck it under my arm, and walk away. The town moves around me. Shoppers, dogs, sunlight. Nothing seems changed, but I know better. I carry the weight inside me now, a quiet ache, an unfinished song. I will speak their names when the wind rustles leaves. I will feel their absence when the radio goes silent at 3 a.m. I will remember. I reach my cruiser. I place the notebook on the passenger seat. I slide behind the wheel. I start the engine. I pull onto the road out of town. And as I drive, the badge rests on my desk. The letters in a drawer, the journal in my coat. The world rolls forward. But the story remains suspended between what was done and what can never be undone. The final, terrible twist. Justice can find the lost, but it cannot heal the living who remain. The silence after the end is the true horror, the quiet knowledge that some losses echo forever. I'm Deputy Cole Harding. I've been on these roads for 15 years. Nights like this are what I do. The storm peeled away before I reached the tower, but the air stayed heavy. My cruiser's headlights cut through low clouds hugging Black Ridge Peak. The radio was dead quiet. I let the engine idle, listened to rain drip from my sleeves. I stepped onto the muddy track. Every footstep sank. I thought of the call from dispatch, interference on all channels, a voice tangled in static. "Need help, fire." They heard it. I had to see. Protocol said wait. I left protocol behind when I climbed out. The tower loomed, wind rattled its frame. The metal staircase vanished into mist. I slung my flashlight and radio over my shoulder and climbed. Each step groaned. My boots slid on wet metal. Halfway up, I paused. The air smelled like ozone and earth. The storm had passed, but left the world raw. At the cabin door, I hesitated. The door swung open wide. Inside, the beam found a desk. An old CB transmitter sat there. The power light glowed. I checked my watch, 2:17 a.m. No electricity for miles. I clicked on my handheld. "Deputy Harding, anyone here?" Static. Then a rasp. 10-4. Need help. Fire. I leaned close. The desk vibrated under my palm. I circled the room. A single chair faced the windows. Rain dimmed glass. I saw my reflection. I looked older than 15 years on the job. Tired eyes. The radio dial spun slowly, as if searching. I reached to turn it off. The static surged, a high-pitched whine. I pressed fingers to ears. The whine cut out. Silence fell. Then a voice plain, "Sheriff Harding." Not a question. He knew me. My heart thumped. I swallowed. "Who is this?" The desk radio crackled. "They lied about the fire. Dig South Ridge." The voice faded into static. I exhaled. I climbed down. The mud sucked at my boots. I followed a cable trailing from the tower base. It vanished in underbrush. I pushed branches aside. The cable led to the survey marker. Cold metal under my fingers. South Ridge, it read. I dug with gloved hands. Clay gave way. I uncovered a battered metal box. Back at the cruiser, I pried it open. A waterlogged journal, dated 1976. Watcher Colton's script. Notes on illegal logging, names of officials, a promise to report. Last entry, they'll burn the tower. No more. I closed the lid. I called dispatch. I found evidence, a journal. Names static answered. I left a report. Logged it under anonymous tip. I didn't mention voices. Dawn came. The sky lightened. I watched mist swirl around the tower. No movement up there. The tower's shadow lay long on wet ground. I thought of Colton broadcasting into storms, waiting for someone to listen. I drove off without looking back. Mud on the cruiser's side. My reflection in the rearview mirror, hollowed, determined. I carried the journal home, locked it in my safe. That night I dreamed of metal stairs winding into black sky. A voice whispering, "Justice." I woke to silence. 3 days later, GPR on South Ridge found anomalies. A box of old tapes. I haven't listened. Not yet. I still patrol these roads. I still check on that tower when storms come. I park and sit. Radio dead. Wind in the wires. I think I hear static. A word. My name. I stepped away from the cruiser into the low dawn light. Boots squelching in the mud. The storm had spent itself, leaving Blackridge Peak wrapped in mist. I glanced back at the tower, its silhouette wavering in the fog like a half-remembered dream. My pulse hadn't slowed. I pocketed the transmitter's journal in a waterproof satchel and set off down the ridge toward Highway 203. Each step felt heavier than the last. The forest was silent aside from dripping water. Fallen leaves glistened. Broken branches lay scattered, as if something had clawed its way out. I kept expecting static to crackle through my radio, but all I heard was the hum of morning insects stirring. By the time I reached my cruiser, the sky was pale gray. I wiped mud from the tire well and climbed inside. The journal sat on the passenger seat, pages curled. I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror, eyes red from adrenaline. I needed coffee, but I wasn't hungry. Instead, I drove back to the station, windows down despite the chill. The air smelled of damp pine and earth. At the station, the sheriff's office was empty except for the overnight dispatcher, Nancy Carter. She looked up when I stepped in, dark circles under her eyes. "You look like hell," she said softly. I dropped the satchel on her desk. Found this at the tower. I opened it to the first soaked page. Ink ran in places, but the words were legible. "They'll burn the tower. No evidence left." Nancy's brow furrowed. "Colton's notes?" I nodded. He named names, timber company, county officials. I paused. "He died in that fire." She swallowed. "Officially lightning. No suspects." I closed the journal. Not lightning. She reached for her coffee mug. "What now?" I shrugged. "We file. Let the paperwork sit, but I'm not letting this go." I tapped the journal. "I want to know who they are." Nancy glanced at the radio. "You sure you want to reopen that can of worms? Those people are gone now." "Some of them," I said, "but their names live on in records, and maybe in descendants. Someone's got to answer." She nodded. "All right, I'll pull archives." By mid-afternoon, I had a stack of old county commissioner minutes, Forest Service memos, and logging permits. I spread them on my desk. The names matched Colton's scrawled list. Harper Logging, County Commissioner Dale Harper, Forest Supervisor Lyle McBride, Sheriff Amos Granger, all tied to that summer of '76. I traced lines between their signatures. Harper's permit allowed selective cutting, but the stumps Colton described were massive, old-growth pines worth more than selective timber. Someone patted the permit. McBride signed off. Granger said nothing. I closed the file. Routine safety inspection, I muttered. More like cover-up. Nancy slid me a folder. Your official report. Inside was my write-up of finding the box, attributed to an anonymous hiker. No mention of voices, no mention of Colton's name. I'd sanitized it. I tapped the folder. Good, official record stays clean. She hesitated. You sure you don't want to take some time off? I shook my head. Silence is what got him killed. I can't be silent. That night, I parked my cruiser on County Road 17, looking up at Blackridge Peak. The tower was lost in darkness. I clicked on my scanner, static. A long minute passed, then a faint click, like a relay closing. I held my breath. Harding. The voice was low, crackled with age. I swallowed. Colton? A sigh. You listened. I did. Dig deeper. The voice faded into static. My hand trembled on the dial. I keyed the mic. Where? Silence, then a soft laugh. Tired, dry. You know where. The line went dead. I sat until dawn. Then I drove home. The journal waited on my kitchen table. My wife had left it there, alongside a plate of untouched dinner. I hadn't eaten. I poured bourbon into a glass and sat across from the journal, its pages spread like a confession. I read Colton's final entry by lamplight. They came at midnight. I tried to stop them. The logs were loaded by dawn. They laughed as they left. I triggered the emergency beacon, but they smashed the radio. If you find this, know I died for telling the truth. I closed my eyes. A gnat buzzed by. I heard footsteps in my mind, metal on metal, the creak of stairs. I felt Colton's fear. I didn't sleep. Instead, I mapped coordinates from Colton's sketch of the logging road. It lay 3 miles west of the tower, now overgrown. At first light, I planned to go there, not as deputy, as someone seeking justice. I climbed into bed before dawn, but sleep wouldn't come. My mind raced through Colton's map, an overgrown logging spur 3 miles west of Blackridge Tower. By first light, I'd be back on those muddy roads. Morning haze lay thick over Wheeler County when I rolled out. The sky was pale, the air cold. I grabbed my gear, flashlight, radio, a compact shovel, my sidearm, and the waterproof satchel with Colton's journal. I left my cruiser parked near County Road 17, out of sight of curious eyes. The forest road to the old logging spur was barely more than a deer trail. Saplings and brambles clawed at my jacket as I pushed through. Every 20 yards I paused to listen. Wind in the pines, a jay calling, then silence deeper than any storm. The world felt held, waiting. An hour in, I reached the spur's start, a fallen sign half buried in moss. BLM Logging Road Number 7. The ruts were faint but continuous, filled with leaf litter. I followed them uphill. The soil was loose. My boots sank. The only footprints were mine and the deer tracks that veered off. I stopped at an old cable anchor, a rusted eye bolt driven into a stump. I snapped a photo. Colton's sketch had shown the anchor. He'd described it as anchor for loading winch. I knelt and ran my fingers over the rusted metal. The stump's rings were old growth, hundreds of years. Someone had torn them out. I moved on. The road bent sharply left, climbing a gentle grade. Fallen logs lay across the path. I climbed over, heart thudding each time wood cracked. My radio squawked once, a flash of static, then nothing. I kept the dial tuned. At midday, the forest opened onto a clearing. the remains of a makeshift landing. Rusted barrels, broken pallets, lengths of cable coiled in the grass. I swept my flashlight across the scene, though the sun was high. The air smelled faintly of oil and rot. I stepped carefully through the wreckage. Something caught my eye, a metal ring embedded in the ground. I knelt and cleared dirt. It was a survey marker, South Ridge, but not the same one by the tower. This was mid-slope. I tapped it with my shovel. The steel pinged. I dug around it. The soil was dry beneath the leaf layer. After a few minutes, the handle struck something solid. I widened the hole until a rectangular metal lid emerged. Hinges on one side, corroded shut. I wrapped my gloved hands around it and pried. The lid groaned. Inside lay a second box, smaller, sturdier. I lifted it out and brushed away debris. The lid bore no markings. I unlatched it. A stack of negatives and a light-proof envelope. I flipped one free. Film canister, marked August 1976. My pulse spiked. I sealed the box and bagged it. I snapped photos of the site, then refilled the hole. No sign I'd been there. The forest seemed to exhale. Back at my cruiser, I opened the envelope. The negatives were grainy. Scenes of massive stumps, freshly cut. Men in hard hats, faces blurred but bodies recognizable. Commissioner Harper, Supervisor McBride, Sheriff Granger, standing beside the logs, smiling. I held one up to the light. Their hands rested on an axe handle together, a pact. I loaded the negatives into my scanner unit, an old film reader I kept for evidence. Each image confirmed Colton's warnings. Illegal logging, sanctioned by the highest county offices. I cataloged them. Radio crackled. Dispatch. Harding, you up? You missed roll call. I keyed the mic. I'm running a late morning check. All's clear. I left out the evidence. Not yet. I drove to the county archive office in Guthrie. The clerk gave me a strange look when I asked for the 1976 timber sale files. Why that year? She asked. I smiled thinly. Routine audit. She fetched bound volumes. Commissioner Harper's signature was there. Permit number 76-45. Harvest limit, 500 board feet. The stumps in the photos were at least 10 times that volume. I photocopied the permit and the negatives. The clerk watched me. I slid her a copy of Colton's journal entry about the logs. She paused, then said quietly, "Good luck, Deputy." Back at home, I spread the evidence on the kitchen table. My wife peeked in. "Still working?" she asked. I nodded. She left the plate of dinner untouched again. I drank coffee black. I called an old contact in the State Forestry Department, a man named Ruiz. He owed me a favor. I described what I'd found. He promised to run satellite imagery archives and soil surveys. "If it's as big as you say, we'll see clearings," he said. That night, I parked by the tower again. The forest was still. I clicked on the scanner, static, then the voice, "You found it." "Yeah," I said. "What now?" "Deliver it." The voice crackled. "To those who can act." I tapped the journal. "Who?" Silence, then the whine of static. A final phrase. "Start local." I turned off the scanner. The wires hummed faintly. I looked at the tower in silhouette. I thought of Colton, trapped in that cabin, broadcasting alone. I owed him more than evidence. I owed him action. Tomorrow, I'd meet Ruiz. Then, I'd draft a report. I'd attach the photos, the permit, the journal entries. I'd send it up the chain, state police, the forestry commission, whoever would listen. It might die in paperwork. It might spark an audit. Either way, it would be more than silence. I woke before dawn again. The sky was a bruise of purple and gray. My kitchen table held yesterday's spread. Journal pages, film negatives, permit copies. I poured coffee into a chipped mug and leaned back in my chair. The engine of my mind idled, running through every face in those photos. Harper, McBride, Granger. All long gone, all still alive in their legacies. By first light, I was on the road to Midland. Ruiz had arranged to meet me at a service station off Loop 250. He had maps, satellite prints, soil surveys. I wanted proof beyond the negatives. I needed data that would survive scrutiny. The highway was empty. Fields of mesquite passed in lines. The air smelled of creosote and oil. I thought of Colton up at Blackridge, listening to storms through a broken radio. I thought of the world he promised to expose. I thought of my own radio, silent now except for the hum of static in my head. Ruiz was leaning against his pickup when I arrived. He looked younger in daylight. He wore a Forestry Service jacket and a baseball cap. He nodded when I approached. "Got something," he said. He opened the tailgate. A stack of prints lay under a sheet of glassine. I lifted the top print. It showed tree cover change over 40 years. The area around the old logging spur was clear in 1976. By 1980, it was obscured by regrowth, but the cut lines matched Colton's cable anchor and loading area. Soil surveys showed disturbed strata at exactly the coordinates. "That's your anchor site," I said. Ruiz tapped the map. "And here." He pointed to a second clearing on the southeast face, near the survey marker by the tower. That slope was clear too, then regrew. 2 big operations, same pattern. I felt a weight lift. "They reforested it themselves," I said, "to hide the evidence." He nodded. "I'm pulling permit records. We'll have proof of misrepresentation. Satellite data, permit discrepancies, soil analysis. Enough for a state investigation." I exhaled, thinking of the paperwork waiting back in Guthrie. "You think they'll act?" He shrugged. "Won't know until we file." We packed the prints and drove back toward Wheeler County. I kept glancing at the horizon, imagining that tower silhouette rising in the storm clouds. I thought I saw it once, but the distance played tricks. At the station, Nancy was waiting. She'd pulled every archived letter, memo, and internal complaint about Blackridge operations. She handed me a manila folder. "Complaints of illegal logging go back to '74, she said, "mostly anonymous. Someone mentioned strange midnight convoys of trucks. Nothing ever followed up." I tapped the folder. "They intimidated the witnesses. Seems that way." She looked tired. "You sure you want to push this?" I met her eyes. "Heard a voice once," I said. "I owe him." She nodded. We worked through lunch. I logged calls, cross-referenced names, prepared a narrative timeline. Colton's tenure, illegal cuts, the fire, the cover-up, the rediscovery. By mid-afternoon, I had a draft report. It was damning. I attached the negatives, the permit copy, Ruiz's survey prints, Nancy's complaint log, excerpts from Colton's journal. I saved it under my secure drive. Then I stared at it. If I hit send, this would go to the State Police and Forestry Commission. It might trigger subpoenas. It might trigger nothing. It would certainly make ripples in Wheeler County. My hand hovered over the mouse. I thought of my career. I thought of protocols. I thought of silence. And I thought of Colton, shackled by protocol in that cabin, burning alive for speaking out. I clicked send. The email left the station network at 17:03. I logged it in my diary. Title: Anonymous Tip, Blackridge Peak Illegal Logging Investigation. I flagged it high priority. Nancy exhaled. "It's done." I nodded. Now we wait. Night fell slow. I drove back down County Road 17 toward Blackridge. The moon was low. I parked under a lone oak. The tower sat dark. I clicked on my scanner, static at first, then a voice. "Harding," I smiled despite myself. "You still there? Storm's coming." The voice crackled. "They're angry." "Who?" Silence. Then a low rumble, metal on metal. The tower's stairs creaked. I shone my flashlight upward. The structure swayed in a wind I couldn't feel. I shivered. I clicked off the scanner. The noise stopped. I sat in the cruiser, engine off. The world seemed to hold its breath. I thought of the email moving through bureaucratic channels. I thought of witnesses too scared to speak. I thought of the journal locked in my safe at home. I thought of Colton's voice. "Start local." I turned the key and drove home. The road was empty. The bike lay in the ditch, unchanged. I passed it without looking. At my driveway, I paused. The porch light was still on. My wife had left it after I came in late. I switched it off. The house went dark. I watched the window for a moment. Then I went inside. I slept a few hours. The dream came again. Metal stairs winding into black sky. A figure at the top, back turned, adjusting a radio dial. The figure spoke my name. I woke to silence. My phone lay on the nightstand. A single notification. Delivery receipt from the Forestry Commission. They'd received my report. No reply yet. I sat on the edge of the bed. I thought of storms. I thought of evidence. I thought of voices in the static. Daylight crept in. I stood. I had calls to make. I had records to check. I had a town to watch. But something tugged at me. A hesitation. The weight of waiting. The terror of what might come next. I stepped outside. The morning was still. A jay called. A breeze stirred dead leaves. The morning sun was weak through overcast sky. I drove to the county clerk's office in Guthrie. My mind replayed last night's silence at Blackridge Peak. The tower stood empty and full of waiting. I carried coffee in a manila envelope. Copies of my report, the negatives, the satellite prints. I'd marked Public Records Request on the front. Inside, the clerk frowned at the envelope. "This is extensive." I offered a polite nod. "I'd like copies of all land use permits, logging authorizations, inspection reports for Blackridge Watershed, 1970 to present." She sighed and tapped at her computer. "That's a lot of pages. Fees will apply." I slid my badge and a county procurement card across the desk. "On county business." She accepted it. "Give me a day." I left with a stub marked Request number 4821. The files would arrive tomorrow. More paperwork, more waiting. Back in my cruiser, I turned on the scanner, static, then a click. A voice so soft I almost missed it. "They watch." "Who watches?" I whispered. "Everyone who comes, they watch." The words faded. I sat for a moment, heartbeat loud. Then I drove toward home. The roads were empty. Fields rolled past. I thought of Colton's journal. "I see everyone who comes up here." I thought of the men in the photos, smiling beside stolen timber. I thought of the descendants who might still hold power. At home, my wife was in the kitchen. She didn't ask about my morning, she knew better. I poured a second coffee. The journal lay on the table, closed. I ran a finger along its spine. The tape recorder rests beside it, silent. I hadn't mustered the nerve to play the tape. Not yet. I drove to the volunteer fire department. I knew Chief Ramirez from past welfare checks. He greeted me with a nod. "You wanted to see me?" I handed him a copy of the negatives. "Take a look." He studied the photos of Harper, McBride, Granger by the felled stumps. His jaw tightened. This is heavy." I shrugged. "Colton saw it. He died for it." Ramirez exhaled. "If this goes public, people will riot. families, businesses. He shook his head. You sure you want that? I want justice. He nodded slowly. All right, I'll share this with the county fire chiefs. They've got contacts in state oversight. I thanked him. Outside, I watched him tuck the negatives into his jacket. I felt the first real flicker of hope. Late afternoon, I returned to my cruiser and found a voicemail from Ruiz. He sounded urgent. The Forestry Commission scheduled a preliminary hearing next week. They want your testimony. My chest tightened. I'll be there. He continued, also, I flagged your evidence to a reporter at the Midland Gazette. Quiet guy, but he digs into environmental stories. Might run a piece. I closed my eyes. A reporter, public attention, danger, and protection. Thanks, Ruiz. I clicked off the scanner. Silence. That night, I parked at Blackridge again. The tower was framed in moonlight. I stepped out into chill air. The beam of my flashlight landed on the staircase. I hesitated, then climbed. Each step groaned. The cabin door lay open. Inside, the desk stood empty. No transmitter, no chair, just dust motes in the beam. I placed my hand on the desk. The surface was cold. I imagined Colton's hands there, twisting dials, calling into storms. I closed my eyes. Ghosts of thunder. The radio frequency humming beneath the static. A whisper in the dark. Thank you. I jerked back. The air was still. I climbed down. My pulse thundered. I stood at the base, heart slowing. In the woods, something shifted. A branch snapped. I swung the flashlight. Nothing. I drove home slowly. My headlights caught the bike in the ditch again. I thought I should retrieve it. Give it dignity. But I kept driving. Some things stay where they fall. At home, I finally played the tape recorder. The machine clicked. Static. Then a voice so clear it startled me. They burned the logs. They buried the truth. Remember me. The voice cracked. Aged, haunted. Then static swallowed it. I shut it off. My hands shook. I'd heard Colton speak. A final message, a plea. Tomorrow, I'd testify. I'd meet the reporter. I'd watch the county's reaction. I'd watch the world stir. But tonight, I sat in darkness. The journal open, the tape silent. I felt the weight of promises, the living and the dead. I felt the hush of rural roads at midnight. I felt the echo of boots on metal stairs. I woke before my alarm. The sky was the dull gray of unease. Today was the preliminary hearing. The Forestry Commission, State Police, a handful of reporters. I dressed in my uniform shirt and jeans, no tie. Formal felt wrong. I needed to be myself. Honest, tired, determined. I drove through town. Main Street was empty at 6 a.m. A lone pickup idled by the cafe, its driver smoking. He glanced at me and looked away. Word had spread. I parked at the courthouse annex where the hearing would be held. The building was low, institutional, with a flag limp above the entrance. I stepped inside and signed in at the receptionist's desk. She gave me a look that said she'd watch the news. I nodded and headed down the hall. The hearing room smelled of varnish and stale air. Rows of folding chairs faced a raised dais. 3 commissioners sat behind a long table, nameplates gleaming. A court reporter clicked away at a stenotype. At one side, a state police lieutenant organized folders. At the back, a small cluster of people, Nancy, Chief Ramirez, Ruiz, and the reporter from the Midland Gazette, a wiry woman with a notebook the size of a tablet. I took a seat beside Ruiz. He gave me a tight nod. I tapped the journal's cover inside my satchel. Everything I'd gathered was here. Colton's journal, the negatives, permits, soil and satellite data, complaint logs. I felt their weight like stones in my pack. The senior commissioner cleared his throat. Deputy Harding, thank you for coming. We've reviewed your submission. We understand you have testimony. His tone was polite but distant. Official. I stood. My knees felt stiff. I cleared my throat softly. Commissioners, I paused. My voice came out low. I'm not here to accuse without evidence. I'm here to present facts and to ask you to follow them. I laid out the sequence. Colton's original tenure, his journal entry, the rediscovery of the metal boxes, the film negatives showing illegal logging, the permit discrepancies, the satellite imagery, the complaint logs. I spoke slowly, deliberately. Every sentence felt like a promise. Behind me, the reporter tapped her pen. I imagined her story already written. I imagined it, hitting inboxes at dawn tomorrow. Sheriff's deputy exposes decades-old logging scandal. One commissioner frowned at a photograph. Mr. Colton's journal is compelling. However, it is circumstantial. A journal is one man's words. He glanced at the negatives. These photos show stumps and men. How do we know those men authorized the cut? He tapped his pen. The permit allowed cutting. The scale discrepancy is debatable. I nodded. The volume in the photos is at least 10 times the permit allowance. That's backed by satellite analysis and soil disturbance. It's not one witness's claim, it's data. Physical evidence. I held up the satellite print. This clearing did not exist before '76. It regrew only after logs were moved. That matches Colton's anchor site and loading area. Silence filled the room. The only sound was the hum of the overhead light. The commissioners conferred in low tones. The reporter scribbled. Then the radio scanner in my pocket crackled. I'd forgotten it was on. A flash of static, then a voice so quiet I almost missed it. You're doing right. I glanced down. The device's light pulsed. I pressed it to my ear, nothing more. I slipped it off before anyone noticed. The commissioners looked up. Anything else, Deputy? The lieutenant asked. I swallowed. Number, that's it. I sat. My heart pounded in the sudden silence. Chief Ramirez rose next. He spoke of community trust, of protecting public lands, of the need for transparency. He urged an official state investigation. Nancy read a statement about the repeated anonymous complaints, the fear that kept witnesses silent. Ruiz summarized the scientific data. Each voice added weight. When the state police lieutenant spoke, he confirmed they'd opened a file. He couldn't promise charges, but he promised follow-up. He said evidence would be re-examined under criminal statutes. He said witness protection would be offered. I let their words settle. The commissioners thanked everyone and recessed the hearing. They would issue findings in 2 weeks. That felt like an eternity. Outside, the reporter approached. She introduced herself, Marisol Vega. She asked a few questions. Why I'd risk my career, what I feared, what I hoped. I answered simply, I owed it to the man who died for the truth. I owe it to the land, I owe it to this town. She nodded, solemn. I'll be in touch. I walked to my cruiser with Ruiz and Ramirez. The morning sun broke through clouds. It warmed the hood. We stood in silence for a moment. Then Ramirez clapped me on the shoulder. Good work, Harding. You stirred the hornet's nest. He smiled wryly. Be ready for stings. I managed a small smile. I'd rather be stung than silent. Ruiz held up his phone. You've got messages. Satellite department wants more details. And the Gazette sent me an email. Vega's editor wants copies. He grinned. This is happening. I felt a tremor of unease. Public exposure meant risk. Retaliation might follow. But it also meant protection. In daylight, shadows shrink. I drove back down County Road 17. The fields glowed green. The ditch still held the abandoned bike. I slowed, looked at it. No child came. I thought of Colton, left to die alone. I drove on. That night, I sat at my desk. The tape recorder lay next to Colton's journal. I played it again. "Remember me?" The voice was a whisper. I turned it off. I didn't need to hear more. I remembered. I turned on the scanner. Static. Then a click. "They know." The words drifted. I keyed the mic. "Who?" Silence. Then a soft laugh. "Soon." The line went dead. My hands shook. I sat in the dark. The glow of the desk lamp fell on the journal's open pages. Names, dates, promises. I closed it. I thought of the hearing. The commissioner's measured skepticism. The promise of investigation. The reporter's intent gaze. The dead watcher's voice echoing through time. I thought of what couldn't be fixed. The lost trees, the man who died, the years of silence. I thought of the people who would suffer fallout, the descendants of those officials, the community's trust shaken. I reached for my revolver. I held it loosely. Not to use, to feel its weight, to remind myself that some decisions can't be undone. I set it down. I slid the journal into my satchel. I clipped the scanner to my belt. Tomorrow, I'd follow up with Vega. I'd meet Ruiz at the site again, this time with a reporter. I'd check on witnesses Nancy had lined up. I'd watch the county clerk deliver the files. I'd listen to the static. And I'd wait for the commissioner's findings. But tonight I sat in silence, feeling the weight of everything unresolved. The pages still to write, the questions still hanging, the storm yet to break. I sighed. I turned off the lamp. The room went dark. I parked on the shoulder where County Road 17 bends beneath the tower's ridge. Dawn was half an hour away. I stepped out into the chill air and listened. The world held its breath. No birds yet. No wind. Just the soft hum of distant traffic on the highway below. I tightened my jacket and slung my satchel over one shoulder. Inside, Colton's journal, the film negatives, printed permits, satellite maps, complaint logs, and the tape recorder. Everything I'd uncovered so far. Everything I needed to follow through. My plan for today was simple. Revisit the logging spur with Marisol Vega, the Gazette reporter, so she could see the site firsthand. Meet Ruiz there with a drone rig to capture aerial footage. Then arrange for Nancy and Chief Ramirez to join us at the survey marker by the tower. We'd document every piece of evidence on camera. I crossed the road and headed into the woods. The path was faint underfoot, leaf litter and new growth, but the old cable anchor was unmistakable in the pre-dawn gloom. I brushed aside ferns to reveal the rusted eye bolt. I tapped it with my flashlight handle. Solid. The ground around it had been disturbed again. Someone or something had reopened the spot. I frowned. Had maintenance crews been here? Or had someone else been snooping? I snapped a photo. A crackle of static came from my scanner clipped to my belt. I pressed the button. Harding. The voice was Colton's, low, distant. "They return." My pulse jumped. "Who returns?" I whispered. Static. Then silence. I clicked off the scanner. I hurried back to the cruiser. My headlights picked out the shape of Vega's rental sedan pulling up behind me, and Ruiz's pickup beside it. I waved them over. Vega climbed out first. Camera bag slung across her chest, notebook in hand. She studied the woods. "This place gives me the creeps," she said in a low voice. Ruiz waved a hand. "Perfect for your story." He unloaded a drone from his rig. I handed Vega the satchel. "Let's start at the spur. You'll want to see anchor site, loading area, the clearing." She opened the satchel and withdrew the envelope of negatives. She held them up to the dim light. "These are the ones you found?" I nodded. "Original film from August 1976, she murmured. "Incredible." She snapped photos of the negatives with her phone. Then she slipped them back and pulled out her notebook. Ruiz set up the drone. I led Vega down the path toward the clearing. The underbrush scraped at our legs. The air smelled of damp wood and moss. Every snapped twig put me on edge. When we reached the clearing, Vega gasped. The scattered debris, rusted barrels, cable coils, broken pallets, looked like the aftermath of violence. She raised her camera. "This is gold." I pointed to the survey marker mid-slope. "That ring in the ground marks Colton's second site." She knelt and brushed dirt away. "It's exactly where you said." She took photos. Ruiz launched the drone. We watched the screen as it rose above the tree line. The bird's-eye view showed the faint ruts of the logging road, the shape of the clearing, the contours of the ridge. He toggled overlays of the satellite imagery. The ghost of the 1976 clearing shimmered over the present scene. Vega whispered, "This will make a powerful visual." I felt a surge of hope. Evidence laid bare. No room for denial. We packed up and drove to the tower. The sun was up now, weak, gray light. At the base, Nancy and Chief Ramirez waited. Ramirez tipped his hat. Nancy held a tripod and video camera. I briefed them quickly. Ramirez would speak on camera about the fire department's role and community impact. Nancy would record statements about the complaint logs and dispatch interference. Vega would film. Ruiz would capture drone flyby of the tower. Ramirez stepped forward. He spoke evenly into the camera. "I've spent 20 years serving this county. I've seen good men and bad decisions. This evidence shows a breach of trust that lasted decades. We're here to set the record straight." Nancy read from a printed statement. "Since 1974, dispatch logs show repeated static interference during storms near Black Ridge Peak. Anonymous callers reported chainsaws at night, convoys of trucks. No follow-up ever occurred. Tonight, this narrative changes." Vega filmed every word, panning from speakers to the dark silhouette of the tower behind them. The wind picked up, rattling the metal stairs. A crow cawed from the summit. I stepped into frame last. I spoke into Vega's mic. "I'm Deputy Cole Harding." I listened to a man's final plea. I followed it through mud, through paperwork, through silence. This is his story, and ours. We owed it to the land, to the living and the dead, to bring truth into daylight. Vega nodded, eyes shining. She said, "Thank you. That's perfect." We wrapped filming. Ruiz flew the drone up to the cabin platform and hovered, capturing the rusted desk bracket and the empty chair. The drone tilted down to reveal the forest floor far below. As the drone landed, my scanner crackled one last time. "Thank you," Colton's voice. Clear. Director. I felt the weight lift slightly. Vega lowered her camera. "That's it," she said. "That's your closer." I nodded, throat tight. We packed up. I watched the tower recede in Vega's lens. It looked ordinary in daylight, an abandoned relic. But I knew what lay beneath. Back at the station, Vega interviewed me one-on-one. She asked about my fears. I told her, "I fear silence more than storms. I fear truth buried again." She scribbled furiously. That evening, I received word. The Midland Gazette would run the story tomorrow morning, front page. The State Commission scheduled a full inquiry within 30 days. I sat at home, the tape recorder on the table. I pressed play. They buried the truth, but truth grows like roots. Listen. Then static. I turned it off. I closed my eyes. I thought of Colton climbing those stairs in the storm, dialing for help. I thought of the bike in the ditch, the diner's neon flicker, the empty schoolyard. I thought of all the small things that speak when we listen. I'm sitting in my cruiser on County Road 17, watching the first light of dawn stretch across the fields. The Midland Gazette story went live at 6 a.m. I saw the headline on my phone. Decades-old logging scandal exposed by Wheeler County deputy. Below, Marisol Vega's byline. Photos of the clearing, the tower, Colton's journal, and quotes from my testimony. Comments already trickling in. Some praising, some angry on behalf of family legacies. I sip cold coffee and let it settle. This is the moment the world shifts. Behind me, Blackridge Peak stands silent. No storm today, no static, just the weight of sunlight on metal. I think of Colton's voice. Truth grows like roots. I close my eyes. I feel the tension drain from my shoulders. But I also feel something new, a tremor of consequence. People will watch now. Some will demand prosecutions. Some will threaten. Some will dig in to protect their ancestors' names. I step out. The morning air is cool. I pocket my radio scanner. I pull the abandoned bicycle from the ditch and lean it against my cruiser, a symbol of things left behind. I take a photo. I won't retrieve it yet. Let it stand for absence. I open the cruiser door and step into the road. I look up at the tower. It seems smaller in daylight. No menace, just steel and history. I breathe deeply. I drive to the station. Nancy meets me at the door. She holds 2 mugs of coffee. I take one. She watches me. "You did it," she says softly. "We did it," I correct. She nods. Now the hard part. I know she means the aftermath, the inquiries, the backlash, the cleaning of records, the possibility of lawsuits, even danger to us. But I also know the hardest part is over, breaking the silence. Inside, Chief Ramirez is on the phone, organizing volunteers to petition for protected status of the watershed. Ruiz is prepping a conference call with the State Forestry Lab. The clerk's files are being digitized. The station buzzes with purpose. I step into my office and close the door. I pull Colton's journal from the satchel. I open to the final page. They'll burn the tower. No evidence left. If you find this, know I died for telling the truth. I trace the scrawl with my finger. He kept broadcasting, waiting for someone to listen. I did. I set the journal aside and pick up the tape recorder. I press play one last time. After Colton's voice, there's a moment of static, then silence. I let it run. Silence is no longer empty. It's full of possibility. I switch off the recorder. I stand and look out the window at the dark ridge of Blackridge Peak on the horizon. The tower is a silhouette against pale sky. I whisper, "Rest now." I walk back to my desk. A new file folder sits waiting. Follow up, Blackridge Inquiry. I open it. Inside are printed emails, witness contact sheets, legal referrals, action items, things to be fixed, things to be challenged, things to be watched. I pick up the phone and call Marisol Vega. She answers on the first ring. "Harding," she says. "How soon can you meet?" "An hour," she replies. "Bring coffee," I say. I hang up and lean back. The road ahead is long. Justice rarely comes swiftly, but it moves. I thumb through the complaint logs one more time. The anonymous voices from 74, 75, 76, all finally finding an audience. I feel their presence in the quiet office. They're still here, in the margins, waiting. I gather the evidence into a neat stack. I'll carry it with me today, to the courthouse, to the press conference, to whoever needs to see it. A physical weight, a promise in paper and photos. I glance at the bike in the corner of the lot, still leaning against the cruiser outside. A child's absence made visible. I plan to retrieve it tomorrow, restore it, maybe donate it. A small gesture. Some things can be mended, some cannot. I stand and head for the door. The station bustles around me, people doing their jobs, buoyed by truth. I step outside into the bright morning. The sun warms my face. I breathe in deep. The world is different now. The tower still stands. The scars in the forest still hide beneath new growth. But the story is out. The roots are exposed. I think of storms to come, literal and figurative. I think of static on the radio. I think of voices waiting to be heard. I think of Colton climbing those stairs in the dark, speaking into the void. And I think I listened. I walk to my cruiser, slide into the driver's seat, and start the engine. The radio crackles once, just static. I key the mic. "This is Deputy Harding. All units stay alert. We've got work to do." I drive away from the tower, down County Road 17, into the town waking around me. The neon of the diner flickers off as morning breaks. The bicycle is gone from the ditch. Someone must have taken it in. Good. Some things find their way home. I pull onto the highway. The fields stretch out on either side. The ridge shrinks behind me. I feel the roads hum through the tires. I feel the promise of movement.